From the hot air balloon capital of the world, this is Balloon Fiesta Live. The 47th edition of the Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta, presented by Canon, is happening now in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And now, live direct from the rooftop studio at Balloon Fiesta Park, here are Glen Moyer and Lloyd Jr.
And good morning once again, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Albuquerque, New Mexico. I'm Glen Moyer along with my colleague Lloyd Jr., and we're live at the Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta, the 47th year. And it's not even sunrise yet, and we're on the air.
We are. Sunrise officially 7:07 this morning.
Okay.
And but we're actually a couple of minutes behind the published schedule.
We are.
A little shower came through overnight, delaying things by about 15 minutes this morning.
It's another one of those cool and damp mornings like we had yesterday.
Yes.
And but everything looks go. Dawn Patrol's already flown this morning.
They have?
So I don't think we're going to see any weather issues. Hopefully we won't.
We won't.
Other than just the slight delay.
That's it. And the storms are gone. The clouds are moving out. Winds.
Wind speeds look fine today.
Great.
So that's something we've had to deal with the last couple of days.
It has. And direction going to be flying in towards us at low levels. They'll have some different directions if they go 2,000 feet or so higher than that. So it should be a great day for flights off the field this morning, as well as competition for those who are going to be flying
some
in.
Low cloud along the Sandias there you just saw, and our balloon of the day already standing up in front of the main stage. That is the Coca-Cola balloon. Obviously, they are the official soft drink of Balloon Fiesta this year.
And I also see out there on the field that our Rainbow Riders balloons, our commercial ride balloons, are inflating from here. Another great sign that we're going to have a great day of flying and competition here at the Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta.
Absolutely. It is day 2 of competition. And what that means is
it's day 4 of 9.
And day 4 of 9 of the event. Don't get me confused. I was going somewhere with this.
Sorry?
It's day 2 of competition, which means if you're not familiar with it, our format is a little different on competition days. We have a group of what we call Fiesta Flyers that are non-competitive pilots who will be launching from the field along with Rainbow Riders and our balloon of the day. So the first action will be get those balloons up and in the air and clear the launch field. Then all of the competitive balloons are going out at least 1 mile away, and there will be a signal when the field is ready, and they launch and fly into the field to score on the various targets that will be displayed.
And we'll be finding out exactly what targets they've set out there as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you'll direct your attention to the center of the field, the balloon of the day and the national anthem performed by Debbie Brown.
Dawn's early light, what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Miss Debbie Brown with the national anthem this morning. And our Coca-Cola balloon, Lori Spencer at the helm. Coca-Cola Olympic Spirit balloon taking the flags airborne this morning for us.
And there is a sea of yellow out there as the Rainbow Riders ride concession balloons are all cold inflating on their sides. I hadn't noticed, I guess, in previous mornings that long, really just solid row of almost solid yellow balloons there. Many of those, of course, are the Rainbow Rider balloons themselves. They're based here in Albuquerque and other points around the Southwest, but a number of contract balloon ride pilots come in and work for them as well.
And those are usually mixed in with this, so
and
maybe they're on the second row behind them, because
there's
two rows of them.
Yeah, you can see the yellow balloons up front. So I think maybe this year all of the Rainbow Rider balloons are up front, and then the contractors are on the second row there. See, there's that massive row of yellow.
Yep.
Because the fleet of Rainbow Rider balloons all the same pattern, yellow with that rainbow.
Very similar ones.
Very similar spirals around them. So,
So a little extra staging there by Scott Appleman, the owner-operator, CEO, chief bottle washer, and spokesperson of Rainbow Riders.
Absolutely. And just checking already, there's a lot of activity and commenting on our Facebook feed. You can watch Balloon Fiesta live, of course, on balloonfiesta.com. Sorry, I may have set my phone on top of my talkback button. Balloonfiesta.com, or also at the Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta Facebook page, and or on the YouTube channel. And a lot of folks are up early this morning and watching from all around the country. I saw Baltimore, there's Oklahoma, Arizona,
Salt Lake City,
Kansas. Somebody said they'd be watching from the office window, so they must be fairly nearby. And my question would be, I guess maybe they have to be at work today, and that's why they're at the office watching out the window. Otherwise, I'd say, well, why aren't you here at the field? But yeah.
Oh, here's hi from Japan.
Oh, wow. How about that?
There we go. Been watching every day. Perfect attendance so far.
Well, one of the first to sign on was our friend Ina in the Netherlands, so I know that she's watching.
She posted a picture yesterday. She was watching 3 or 4 different feeds.
Yeah.
Of course, our feed was in the bigger window.
Well, of course it was.
Sure. Thanks, Ina.
Ina would know better than to post a picture if it weren't that way. But it's always good to hear from Ina over in the Netherlands. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. There's Missouri signing in, La Crosse, Wisconsin, Arkansas. So, Casa Grande, Arizona. Good morning, Lori. Sorry, my phone's a little far from my eyeballs here. And Jarrettsville, Maryland from Michigan. Wow. I'm surprised all you folks. Hi, Tanya. Surprised all you folks are up this early. Mississippi.
Well, some of these folks, it's like Ina's, it's the afternoon over there.
Well, that's true. Our international viewers, it's about lunchtime over there, so they're having afternoon tea and enjoying the feed. So for them, it's not so early. But all these folks in the U.S., it is early for them.
But of course, anything east of us, it's 7 o'clock here in Albuquerque.
Right.
So 8 o'clock in the Central. It's already 9 o'clock. It's the start of the day on the East Coast.
But I've never been a morning person, so it's still early as far as I'm concerned.
You must have done afternoon drive radio, huh?
No, actually, I did. Yeah. Well, actually, I did all night and evening radio.
Oh, there you go.
But I was never the morning drive guy. Yeah, wasn't that kind of guy. Hey, speaking of back east and Eastern Standard Time, Ruth Lind is here as one of our field reporters this year, and it's probably late in the morning for her because she comes from Maine and the Eastern Standard Time zone, so she has an interview already down on the field. She's starting to work early this morning. Ruth, take it away.
Oh, goodness, yes. It's almost lunchtime in Maine. What are you talking about early morning? I have here with me this morning Carolyn Lilly, who is the pilot of the Zoo Balloon, owned by J.R. Allison of Old Republic Title. Now, I have to tell you, I knew Carolyn when she was flying the Conoco balloon. We've flown nationals and all kinds of other events for many, many, many years. Tell me about Old Republic Title.
Old Republic Title is a title insurance company, and it's an international company. JR, of course, knows a lot more since he is Old Republic Title here in the Southwest.
Old Republic Title's been in New Mexico now for about 10 years, and its predecessor, Minnesota Title, that they bought 10 years ago or so, was here, has been here since I've been here, which was back in the 1970s. So they've been a title company in New Mexico all of that time.
Now, Carolyn, when you're flying the Old Republic Title balloon, it's the Zoo balloon.
It's a zoo.
It's a fabulous balloon. Tell me how that helps you promote Old Republic Title.
Well, we've got banners on the balloon, and one of the banners for Old Republic Title is on permanently. So I'm a local pilot here from Albuquerque. I've been flying 25 years, and we fly all during the year in Albuquerque. So he gets a lot more than just Balloon Fiesta.
Well, that's great. And before we let you go, Mike, can you zoom in on Carolyn's earrings? I want you all to know that Carolyn is a fabulous beading artist, and she actually made her earrings, which are a beaded rendition of the It's a Zoo balloon. So take a look here, ladies and gentlemen. It is beautiful.
That's cool.
Wow.
And all the women on my crew have these earrings as a thank you for coming out and working so hard for me.
Balloonists of many talents. Back to you guys upstairs.
Thank you, Ruth. And yeah, those earrings are awesome, aren't they?
I've not seen those particular ones, but I've seen some of Carolyn's other work, and she does great work on stuff.
Wow.
So she's made some for the balloon I fly and for the women on the crew there. So it's always great.
I was just going to say we've got some more international folks checking in. I saw a message pop up on Facebook from Lithuania. So the pilot of Band of Gold we were talking about earlier, Bill Armstrong. Well, his daughter is watching. She said hello. I think she said she was at work at Washington, D.C., and that to say hi to her dad, who is here flying his balloon Band of Gold.
And flying the banner for Cottonwood Mall. One of the other malls in town here. It's on the west side, one of our park and ride locations as well. So thanks to the Cottonwood folks for being a part of this, and for Bill for flying the Cottonwood banner for us.
He's one of the regular participants in our Dawn Patrol show, and so we'll be seeing them tomorrow morning. Wednesday morning is our midweek Dawn Patrol show. But his daughter's watching, wanted to say hi to her dad.
Good deal. We'll pass that along. They've definitely staged that picture out there for us.
So,
now that the Rainbow Rider balloons are standing up, we can see that pattern that you were talking about there, kind of that eye pattern, if you will, with the Rainbow Riders emblazoned there. And over on the far right-hand side, when we flip back to that picture, we'll be able to see the Zia there.
Now, who is our intrepid field photographer this morning? Because Tom
is getting that shot looking back from inside the balloon, back at the basket there.
I wouldn't stay there too long, Tom, just a word of advice.
Well, look, he's going to turn around, give us the other
show
view.
Us the inside of the balloon. We saw that a moment ago, looking up
there. So there you go. There's the whole top.
That's a spin all the way around from side to side. If he pans back to the right a little bit, you'll see what we often talk about, the parachute top, the parachute vent. There it is. See that round, colorful piece? That fits right up in a hole at the top of the balloon and seals the balloon, and so that it holds the cold air and then eventually the hot air. And you can see the line connected to the pulley. That line runs down to the basket, so when the pilot needs to vent or release some of the hot air, or when it's time to land and deflate, he activates, pulls that rope that pulls that round piece of parachute fabric or parachute style fabric down into the balloon, allows the air to go up and out the top. That's a great shot, Tom.
Great shot.
Nice work this morning, Tom.
Yep. And I don't think he's actually inside there. There's this little bit of space between what we call the skirt, that fabric at the very bottom.
He may have been shooting from
that. Kind of shoot through that little opening there.
No, he was inside.
Oh, they're telling me they got him inside.
Our director says he was inside. So cool.
Good deal.
Well, just don't stay there, Tom. It could get a little warm.
When they start giving thumbs up to the guys at the crown line at the other end, it's time to get out of there.
Get out of there.
And there goes one of the first balloons after our balloon of the day, Coca-Cola. There's Rainbow Riders taking a number of folks airborne. And that appears to be right here in front of us, Intel, which would be Sean Askren.
That is. I was going to say, I think I recognize that guy.
There he is.
That's Sean Askren getting airborne in the Intel balloon. Back in the early days where Tom was at, long before we had inflator fans, they used to have a character that became known as, if I remember my history right, he was it Crispy Charlie, or I can't think of the name now, but there would be a person who would walk into the balloon, sometimes with like a broomstick or a pole type thing,
to kind of hold things open,
to hold the balloon open while the pilot gave it those first few bursts of hot air, heat to heat the air inside the envelope before we had the ability to pack our balloons out with inflator fans.
Right.
And so, a little throwback history view of.
That was kind of when we used weed burners to kind of inflate.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of a little wand like you would use to burn weeds.
Right.
Connected to a separate propane tank, and you'd kind of get in the middle there to kind of put some heat in there.
Yeah, and of course, to begin with, you did flap inflations because you didn't have a fan to blow air into the envelope. So you'd have two crew people who would literally, like you take a bed sheet, and they would have to just
flapping it.
Flap up and down, up and down, up and down until they flapped a little bubble of air in there, and then Charlie would get in there and hold up the envelope to allow the pilot to have a hole big enough to shoot a little heat in there. It was a whole different world back in the day before inflator fans came along.
Nice shot of the top from the other side here. Smiley face here. Another way to be able to see that top you were talking about. That's where you see that opening around the face there.
Right.
That's how we saw it from the inside before. Now you're seeing it from the outside.
Now when we inflate the balloon, that is tabbed in, we call it, there are Velcro tabs or a hook and pile. Yeah, fasteners, and you go around and you tab those in to hold that in place. But once the balloon is filled with air, then the air pressure holds it in, so that when the pilot opens and closes it during flight, that rope pulls it loose from those tabs, and then from that point forward, the air pressure in the balloon just simply seals it back in place. So it can be freely opened and closed throughout the flight.
So the balloon we were looking inside a few moments ago is that one standing up in the center there. That's the name of the balloon is actually Too Grateful, and there's a whole story behind that, but it is the Lighthouse Business Systems balloon.
Oh, so that's Scott Vesley.
That's Scott Vesley.
Yeah.
So we were looking inside. That's Scott there in the green getting the last final instructions from the launch director.
Speaking of launch directors, you see one on the screen now doing
exactly
his job.
It. Yep.
Clearing the crowd because he's about to release that balloon to fly, and so he wants to clear the spectators that are downwind of the balloon. So as the balloon launches and begins to move downwind, there won't be any spectators standing in the way.
It looks like Bill Brennan as the launch director.
Is it? And we talked about how
there's the thumbs up and the big whistles.
Good to go. And we've talked about how they wear those black and white uniforms to distinguish them from other spectators.
And now we see Scott taking the balloon into the air.
And they sometimes embellish those uniforms, and you see
a little embellishment
the
there.
Little black and white wig there. So, yeah.
And there goes Scott. Scott is scheduled to fly our balloon camp tomorrow morning. There he is. Scott, when he was 16 at the time, was basically one of the youngest pilots to fly Balloon Fiesta. He's a little older than 16 now.
Yeah.
And listen to the cheer from the crowd getting him up in the air. Hi, Scott. Bye, Scott. Have a great flight.
I think Scott's having a good time this morning.
He is a little crazy.
And downstairs, just before we came on the air this morning, I managed to score my first launch director pin of the weekend. Pin trading,
there you go,
is a big deal here at Balloon Fiesta and in the sport of ballooning in the U.S. Anyway, I did an announcer pin for the Longleat event 2 years ago, and as soon as word got out that I had pins, I became everyone's favorite commentator, as you might say.
Probably most favorite commentator.
Yeah, because they don't do a lot of pin trading over in the UK, but we do a bunch of it right here, and so I'm just placing that on my lanyard now.
Look how slow the wind speeds are leaving the field here.
Well, that's great, though, because the last few days we've had to deal with higher winds a lot. In fact, on Sunday morning we weren't able to fly because of the high winds aloft. And so, and yesterday in the competition, we saw basically as the pilots came into the targets, they had one shot at it, and that was it, because there was no option to hang around and no steerage, no box to fly, no way of returning to the field to make multiple attempts, as we often see. So, basically light and variable over the field this morning will not be a bad thing.
Not at all. Now, what it might do, though, is delay the start of the competition.
Yeah, because
we have to get all of these balloons off the field and out of the way before we can let the competitors loose to fly in.
Yeah, and of course you and I have both been here in past years, Art, when the launch team, our launch directors and balloon meisters literally have to radio out to the pilots, get up and get out.
Yep.
Because they hang around the field so long that it then does delay the competition. So if the wind is really slow, they will encourage them to get up, get some altitude, find a little bit of speed and some movement, and clear away from the balloon launch field so we can open the field for competition. So we'll see how that develops.
What a great view, those folks getting their balloon rides, their bucket lists checked off with Rainbow Riders. What a great view they have from up above looking down on the field.
It's actually kind of an interesting picture because you look at Scott Vesley's balloon, and all the others in the sky right now are the Rainbow Rider balloons. And so you've got this sky full of yellow rainbow patterned balloons, and then you have
Scott there in the middle.
Yeah, Scott in the middle. I'm sorry, I was distracted a bit by the IFB. I've got my volume up quite loud.
Well, whereas Intel is directly behind us
here.
Yeah,
but they launched and flew away, whereas Scott is right there. Scott's right there in the midst of all the Rainbow Rider balloons.
So we just saw that launch director with the black and white wig on there. Kim Vesley, our reporter down on the field, has managed to snag him among his duties. Kim?
Hi, and then I've got Bill Brannon with me, and Bill Brannon is the former chief launch officer for Balloon Fiesta, and he's now back in the field as a zebra, and just launched Scott Vesley and the Lighthouse balloon. So what were you thinking about and looking at when you were going through that process?
Well, anytime we're launching the balloons, we're looking for overhead traffic. Luckily for Scott, he didn't have anybody behind him, so it was pretty easy. He was one of the first ones off on this field after the balloon of the day, and it was great. He moved the crowd a little bit. The winds are light and variable, so he pretty much went vertical. With light and variable, you don't know which way the balloon's going to go. That's why we asked the crowd to please move away in kind of a big arc for us to make it safe.
So you've been a launch director for 12 years. What made you become a launch director?
Well, somebody that was on my crew said, you know something, Bill, I think you'd like doing this. And that was, so I became a launch director in '91. In the last 12 years, I was wearing the red coat as an official. And now I'm back in stripes, and I'm having some fun.
I was going to say, which is more fun, being an official or being just on the field as a zebra?
This is definitely the most fun job on the field.
And why is it so much fun?
Because you're involved. I mean, you can't get any more into Balloon Fiesta than launching the balloon.
Well, we got to let Bill go because he's got to get back to work. So have a wonderful, safe launch, a safe and coordinated launch. Is that the phrase?
Coordinated launch. If I didn't say that, I'd catch
it. All right, back to you.
Thank you much.
You betcha. Right. Safe, coordinated launch. They have that drilled into the launch directors here, and they do a fabulous job of making that happen.
They really do. I always had great respect for my launch directors in the years that I flew here as a pilot, and they're just a great group of guys and gals. Most of them are pilots, experienced balloon pilots that crew themselves who, as we've said, give up the opportunity to fly here in order to be of service to all of the other pilots from across the U.S. and around the world that come to enjoy the Balloon Fiesta, and just a great bunch of people. But they do take their jobs very seriously, and they must, because safety is always our number one priority here, and it's largely in their hands, and they do a wonderful job. So
that smiley face top that we were looking at a few moments ago, that balloon is now stood up. It's got the rainbow of colors with the white and the black and then the blue, and you can just see the yellow at the top. That's the smiley face. That's Bill Walker's Honeydew.
And right behind it.
Exactly. Now that they've moved it to the lower right behind it was standing up was the emoji
balloon. That's Lee Hooper, who's here from the UK, from Lindstrand Technologies, with the first of what will be a whole series of emoji balloons. That balloon virtually brand new. It just was delivered to Lee at the Longleat Sky Safari over in England, which was just about a month ago now, the middle of September, and making its first appearance here at Balloon Fiesta.
And just a moment ago, we were seeing passengers climb into the basket of Cynthia the Seal.
Yes, and that balloon, they're turning Cynthia
Pat
right
Rolfe
around
has turned it around for us.
Nicely done, Pat.
Yeah, there you go.
I posted a picture of it yesterday on my Facebook page, my Twitter feed, and on my Instagram account, and getting a lot of great reaction. And that's becoming quickly one of the favorite new special shapes here this year. And I love the fact that I didn't notice it until a day or two after we saw it the first time. The reflection in the eyes are hot air balloons. I love that little touch there.
It is just,
That's just, and what's really great about it, we're seeing a lot more of this in the world of special shapes now. It really is basically just a standard round teardrop-shaped balloon with some appendages, the two little flippers and the nose that are three-dimensional there. So unlike some special shapes that we've seen in the past, if you think back to the days of when we have the Oriental Express here, the big train locomotive, or the Forbes Chateau, or some of those really, really intricate special shapes. And huge. And those things are a massive job. Well, Arabelle the cow that is here are massive.
Yes.
It takes a lot of work and a lot of crew to get those things laid out, inflated, and then even more so, deflated and packed up. But a little shape like Cynthia the Seal here is not that difficult, because it's not really that much more than just a traditional balloon. But the artwork and all of the appendages make such great caricature and so it brings a great character to life in the form of the balloon, but it is still basically just a round balloon.
Yesterday, of course, the balloons went to the northwest, which means they were going to go right over the river out there, and we predicted there would be a lot of splash and dashes.
And I saw quite a few pictures of that on social media.
And I was reading that Cynthia the seal got her fins wet yesterday.
Oh,
that's what they said. I'm sure it was only the basket, but got her first splash and dash yesterday.
I was going to say, one of the photos I saw posted was either puddles or splash. I don't recall which. One of the two penguins, and they were a little more than skimming the
a little
top
more.
Because
the trick of the splash and dash is to skim the water, not get your feet wet.
Yeah, and they definitely had feet wet. It was the basket was about half deep, I think, in the river. So
oops, that's not the picture you want.
Hey, one of the popular features that kids in particular love, I always love seeing them here at the Balloon Fiesta, is the Albuquerque Police Department's mounted patrol. And my goodness, Ruth is down there in the horse corral, it looks like, this morning. Ruth?
Oh my goodness, I am surrounded by so much awesomeness here, I can't even begin to tell you. I have Officer Breeden up here on the mounted patrol, and his horse, Justice, this is his first time at Balloon Fiesta. Justice is doing great.
Yes, this is his first time out to see the balloons inflating, and he's doing a great job. I'm very proud of the accomplishment on getting this horse ready for this, and he seems to be enjoying it so far, and we're enjoying the fiesta also, and the great day that we have going on behind us, and to be a part of the crowd and the safety out here for everybody. So.
And tell me about your mission here at Balloon Fiesta.
We are out here primarily for the safety of everyone. We're also interacting. We love to interact with the citizens as they come up from all around the world in this international event, and it's a great representation for the city of Albuquerque and the citizens for them to be able to come up and interact. We have lost kids, we have questions, we have anything you can come up and ask us and interact with us about. They ask questions about our horses, what we do, and on a daily basis with these guys all year long on patrol. So it's just a great interaction, again, with the citizens out in Albuquerque. So.
Thank you so much. And Officer Breeden was telling me this is New Mexico's only mounted police unit, which is terrific. And as we let you go, I want them to turn around so that you can see that they come with tail lights. Mega cool. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Ruth. And let's also mention that they also, we talked about pin trading earlier, they do have pins, the mounted patrol does. Now, they sell their pins because they are fundraising to support their search and rescue efforts year-round here in the Albuquerque area. So if you see the mounted patrol, go up and grab yourself one of their pins, buy one, because the money will be going to a great cause and great purposes here in the area. So they're going to spin around now. We'll get a shot of that here in a second, I think, and we'll see that they've got tail lights, Ruth said.
There they are. In the braiding and the little lights built into there.
Oh, there they are.
Yeah, there they go.
Oh, the things you see when you come to the Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta.
Yep.
What an amazing day.
And now we're sharing it with the world.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So you still, as good a job as our production crew is doing, and hopefully we're doing, there's still nothing like being here in person.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're thrilled that we've got tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people watching worldwide, and that's great. But, if you've never been here, this is definitely a bucket list item. You need to be here. Because there's nothing like being on the field, feeling the crisp coolness of the air, having one of those breakfast burritos, and just watching the awesomeness. It's sensory overload is the way I always describe it your first time here, because you can't imagine this many balloons all in the sky together, all on the field together. It's just absolutely awesome. Quick shout out to a friend of mine, Mary Good. Oops, what do with that?
So while you're looking,
I got it.
Okay.
Mary Laughlin Good now. I knew her as Mary Laughlin back in the day when we were much younger. But her stepson is out here. She's watching back in Dallas, and her stepson is here crewing. He was telling us that he lives up in Maryland in the Washington, D.C. area, and got a call from a bunch of college buddies on Wednesday. Said, hey, we could use somebody to help with the crew. Do you want to come down? And he was on a plane and here by Thursday. So Mary, David, and I did get to meet this morning, and glad to have you watching. So I just wanted to say a quick hello to one of my longtime friends.
One of the comments as I was reviewing yesterday's Facebook comments as well, I'm kind of wondering, when does this get scheduled every year? Well, it's always the first full weekend of October.
Right. It always starts on Saturday after the 1st of October. So,
or the first if it is. Yes.
Or the first if it is, if the first falls on Saturday. So it's always the first Saturday in October is the starting date, and it's 9 days long.
And all of those dates for at least the next 4 years are posted on balloonfiesta.com. So you can see those, which of course we're only 3 years away from our 50th Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta.
Absolutely, and we have Switzerland checking in online now.
Oh, great.
And I think Ruth Lind has another guest down with her as we continue to watch the morning inflation underway. Ruth?
Well, he's coming over here. I have Jim Garcia here from the Balloon Fiesta Board of Directors. And Jim has a long career in the hospitality industry, and he has a lot to do with the different hospitality venues that we have here at Fiesta.
Oh yeah, it's been great. We have some really, really strong partners. You know, the great thing about this is the Albuquerque community has gotten together, and a lot of our local vendors have gotten together, and concessions, over 158 food and beverage concessions that are on the road there. Some of our title sponsors, you know, like Admiral Beverage, Dos Equis, some of our big sponsors have been around for a while, and they believe in us, and it's been fantastic.
What are some of the longest term relationships you have with our hospitality vendors?
Well, you know, the nice thing is that the local community has gotten together. So a lot of the local small restaurateurs, we've given them the opportunity to come on to put their booths out here. Hello Deli, I mean, they just do a wonderful job. There's just so many different venues. Blake's Lottaburger, they're wonderful. You know, there's just so many that keep coming back every year, and we're grateful for them, and we want them to do good, and so far they've been doing really, really good.
They have been doing fantastic. Any in particular you'd like to send our guests to go visit?
You know, I'll tell you what, don't miss that Chavez burrito. It's probably one of the best burritos on the block down there, and they do a fantastic job.
Well, given the fact that you are still maybe the longtime proprietor of a New Mexican food restaurant, I think you would know. Thank you so much, Jim. Back to you upstairs.
Thanks, Ruth. And New Mexico Pinion Coffee getting a lot of shout-outs from our Facebook commentators this morning. So, yeah, they're talking about how there's nothing like having a cup of that Pinion Coffee and a breakfast burrito and watching the balloons launch. And
you know, New Mexico Pinion Coffee makes some pretty darn good hot chocolate, too.
Well, I know that for a fact because that's my staple up here on the tower.
It is, mine as well.
I was just thinking, I placed an order to have some delivered up just a little bit shortly from now, as a matter of fact. Now, we don't get a chance usually to chow down on any breakfast burritos up here, but we can catch up with those after the flying is over. Hey, out of the field. Go ahead. I just spied the U.S. Bank balloon, which is our good friend Scotty McClinton. Scott owns a balloon operations company and handles a number of balloon events around the country. I work with Scotty at a number of different events each year, notably the Lisle, Illinois Ice to the Skies Balloon Fest. So he's here.
Squeezed in between Emoji and the Cox Utility Balloon.
Cox Utility Balloon. Now, Cox Utility Services actually has two balloons here. This was, I guess, is their sort of standard corporate balloon with the call 811 message on the bottom. Cox Utility Service, of course, wants you to call 811 anytime you're doing any digging for construction purposes, whether that be large projects or even something as simple as maybe putting in a septic system or a sprinkler system for your lawn. But they also have a brand new balloon here that has our latest new superhero on it we call Shovel Man. And we'll see that balloon at some point this morning as well. It usually launches from the western side of the field, so we'll keep an eye out so that we can show you the Cox Utility Shovel Man balloon. And speaking of men,
great shot of Humpty Dumpty going up. And
yeah.
it's just kind of going out the top of the, well, you can see it at the very edge. There's that parachute top we've talked so much about.
You can
and
also,
it's a whole lot more brighter.
I was just going to say, you can tell the parachute is fairly new because it's a brighter shade of white than the rest of Humpty. Humpty Dumpty, of course, when you see him in full, is sitting on his brick wall. And hopefully Humpty will have a great flight and not a great fall today.
He made a nice landing right here in front of us yesterday.
He did indeed.
Great
nice
job of coming in.
High wind landing yesterday.
Yep. Textbook doing that. Good job by Rich Lawhorn with Humpty Dumpty.
We also have the KKOB balloon we can see out there, and KKOB holds a special place in the history of the Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta because it was there It was for was it their 50th anniversary at the time?
It was KOB's 50th anniversary,
and
yes.
it was then just KOB. That's before the FCC instituted the rule where radio stations and TV stations east of the Mississippi have a W, like WLS in Chicago, or if you're west of the Mississippi, then you have a K call sign, like what is now KKOB, because it was KOB originally, and then when that law came into effect, it added the additional K. But their balloon, KKOB, red, white, and black, is standing tall and waiting on launch director approval to get going.
The Black Widow Spider on the side of Preventive Pest Control balloon. One of the local, actually I think they're more than just here. I know that I've used them here as well. And it's the kind of fourth Zia balloon, or a balloon that has a Zia symbol on it. It's all part of their logo. Don Moyer piloting Preventive Pest Control for us this year. We got some great close-up shots of the balloons being inflated and the whole process of putting the cold air in. In fact, I think this is the Pico balloon.
Now, are we using, that must be our backpack camera. Is that the one that's out getting that this morning?
No, that's one of the wired cameras.
That's one of the wired cameras? Wow, okay.
We'll have the backpack out there in competition, which they've now said competition will start at 8:30.
8:30,
so that
okay.
15-minute delay is continuing to go through the morning here.
Okay.
But so we still have about an hour to get all of these Fiesta flyers, the non-competitors, off the field before we'll open the targets.
Right, okay.
So 8:30 for the start of competition. Scheduled, the target closes at 10 o'clock. That information just being relayed to the pilots.
Well, and that's because the pilots who are in the competition are standing by off-site.
So here we go with the Pico balloon. It's full of cold air.
Yep.
Now they're starting the burner, heating the air in, and the balloon will stand up for us.
And as you see that shot, you also see the New Mexico balloon sitting just beside it there, just one or two launch sites over.
Bill Lee, the pilot of Truly, New Mexico.
Right.
So folks on holding the rope, still holding the throat open there to keep it out of the flame. And you just keep putting the heat in until it lifts it up. And it stands upright. Those guys with the ropes will kind of walk back as they continue to keep the skirt out of the flame. The red line hanging down in the center is that line that we have talked about that goes to the top of the balloon, the parachute top that we've been talking about. So when the pilot wants to come down, he will pull on that. There's a braided white rope just behind that. That's probably to the turning vent.
Probably so. Yeah.
So that it would, which lets the air out of the side of the balloon, which would let the balloon spin in the air when they're flying away.
Yeah, I know one of the last balloons that I owned had dual turning vents, and so you had the red line, which is always generally red in color because
right.
You know that's the line, that's your rip line. But then I had a green line and a blue line were the two colors of my turning vent line so that you could keep them apart, one on the right, one on the left.
Seen them green, seen them blue, and of course, as we just looked here, the whole braided white one. But yes, right. You always know the red one is definitely the one you're going to pill to deflate or vent as we move forward. And those folks there are on the crown line. That's the other handling line that they have. That is connected to the very top of the balloon, and that is used when the balloon is on the ground. So as the balloon comes up, they're hanging onto that to kind of keep the balloon from going all the way over the top, and at deflation time, they'll use that to pull the balloon down to control the direction the balloon comes down on the ground as they let the hot air out of there.
Just keep going, Art. I'm doing a little
business over there.
I'm getting some homemade jelly delivered, so I'm doing a little business.
Oh, what flavor?
There are three flavors.
Rhubarb,
grape, and peach.
Oh,
thank you, Brenda.
That'll be
love it. Thank you.
And I see the emoji balloon getting airborne. We talked a couple of times yesterday about the different registration numbers. In the U.S., they're N numbers. But the other countries have a different letter. The very first letter signifies what country they are. And as it comes up behind the blue chair bay room, we can see that the registration number for the emoji is G-moji. So they've got a nice custom registration number as well.
And we mentioned the other day, one of the new special shapes that here is the koala bear balloon that's here from Longleat Sky Safari. And that represents the fact that koala bears are coming to Longley, which is a wildlife safari park in the south of England. And they're doing that in cooperation with a game park in southern Australia. And so the registration on that balloon is GDAAY, as in g'day, mate. Yeah, g'day.
Someone on our Facebook feed says it's Oshkosh for balloons. I definitely want to.
It absolutely is.
Yes.
Yeah, if you're not familiar with Oshkosh, that's the world's largest fly-in of one of the largest fly-ins for fixed-wing aircraft in Oshkosh, and I think somebody has turned the tables on us down there because.
So we have a brand new reporter for us.
Yeah, brand new reporter, our longtime friend John Davis. John,
take it away, John.
You know, I think it was time that we switched tables on our ace reporter down here and interviewed her. She, as you all know, is really a very accomplished balloonist too, and I think some of her better stories are from gas balloon flights. So, Ruth, tell us about some of your gas balloon flights, and welcome to Fiesta.
Thank you. It's so good to be back. This is my 31st Balloon Fiesta, either as a pilot or as a navigator. Some of the most interesting flights I've ever had have been gas balloon flights out of Fiesta. Some of them have been amazingly beautiful. And I think one of my favorite experiences going out of here in a gas balloon is the sunrises on nights when there's no moon. People think that you see the rosy glow in the east, but that's not really the way it is. What happens is that it's dark, it's very dark, the stars go away, and then the earth starts to materialize out of the void. You begin to see shapes and a little bit of colors, and they become more and more clear. And then the rosy glow in the east comes, and the whole sensation is like living the book of Genesis. I never, ever forget that as long as I live.
That's spectacular. Really well put. Gas ballooning from here is a lot of fun, as we both know.
It totally is, and we've experienced that together in the basket twice. I want you to tell our viewers about our last gas balloon flight that we did together out of here.
That's pretty easy because before we took off, we decided it was our last gas balloon flight, and we weren't really going to push it too hard. So we ended up landing in the morning, waiting for our crew, sitting on the tail rope, and boiling a pot of water so we could have coffee.
And I was so angry at John that day. It's the only time I've ever been really angry at John in my whole life. When you get ready for a gas balloon flight, each of the pilots has a different thing that they're in charge of, and John was in charge of coffee that year. So we had a calm landing, which is very unusual in a gas balloon. No broken bones. It was great. He brings out the coffee pot, make the coffee. He brought decaf.
Oh,
no! What was up with that, John?
Oh, well, sometimes you don't do everything quite right.
Well, you do just about everything right, and I love you to death.
Well, love you, and I thank you for coming out and being a reporter here. I think the success of the TV show is spectacular.
Well, thank you, John.
So, here you go. You can go back to work.
Thanks,
okay,
John.
guys, I can go back to work now.
Oh, what a great story.
Thank you, John. And I agree, Ruth. That was a brilliant description of gas. It's one of the things I've always wanted to do and have never done, is to fly through the night in a gas balloon, and I can't imagine what that must be like. And Ruth is also an accomplished journalist besides being a balloonist. She was my predecessor as editor of Ballooning Magazine. She held that position for, I think, a dozen years. And we've agreed this morning that we are no longer going to mention how long we've known each other.
Okay.
But she was my predecessor as editor of Ballooning Magazine and set the bar very, very high for that publication. And so she has a broadcast background too, as you could tell from the expertise she's been showing us on camera this week. So
we are so glad.
We're lucky to have her because normally
lucky.
She would be involved in the America's Challenge gas balloon race and would not be available to us. So quite thrilled, as John said, to have someone of Ruth's caliber able to join the team. And then we also have our other intrepid reporter who is accomplished in her own right, and that is Kim Vesley. And she has an interview for us over on the opposite side of the field. Kim, take it away.
Yes, I do. We have been sitting here watching them inflate Pico, which of course you all got to see too. And with me is Cindy Littlejohn from St. Joseph, Missouri. and she's been sitting here with her mouth hanging open.
That is true.
So how long have you been in Albuquerque and at the event?
We got in here Sunday afternoon, and this is the first day here at the festival.
So what do you think?
This is amazing. Everybody should do it. Should definitely be on your bucket list.
So what have you learned while we've been standing out here?
A lot more about balloons than I thought. You're very informative. I never had a clue as what all went into this.
So what are your plans while you're here? Are you going to be here for a couple days, or?
We're leaving actually tomorrow, but we've now made a plan to come back and spend a couple weeks next year.
It's very cool. What got you interested in coming to Fiesta in the first place?
Just the look of the balloons are just amazing. They're so just interesting, and I've always wanted to see it. They said, if you're going to do it, go big, go to Albuquerque. So we did.
Go big or go home, as
That's
they
right.
say. Well, we're going to let you go so you can go over and look at some of the special shapes and some of the competition that's coming up. But welcome to Albuquerque, and we're glad you're enjoying your visit. Have you gotten any green chili yet?
Yes, it's amazing.
They don't have that stuff in Missouri, huh?
No, they do not. That breakfast burrito was awesome.
Well, thank you very much, Cindy. You have a great visit here in Albuquerque. Thank you. And back to you.
Thanks, Kim. And yeah, I can absolutely relate to the green chili. As a matter of fact, Art, you and I had my first night in town before Balloon Fiesta, bit of a pre-production dinner, I guess you could say.
We did.
And went over to Tomasita's and had some green chili there. So that's one of those things it's a must-do when you're in Albuquerque. And then I've been stocking up on Pozzoli as well while I've been here. That's one of my favorites, and rarely anywhere I can find it other than here in Albuquerque. So a couple of favorite local foods.
So one of the balloons that launched right in front of us a few minutes ago while we were talking with a lot of other folks here is the Zia balloon. We've talked about it almost every day. I don't know that we got a shot of it going out, but I have information here that the New Mexico Secretary of Education is getting his first balloon ride in the Zia balloon this morning.
So he's getting an education this morning.
He is. Chris Rukowski is flying with Tom McConnell II in Zia this morning.
Okay.
And they're not very far away from us out of our camera view because they've drifted off behind us. But so we'll be interesting to hear how all of that comes together for him.
Absolutely. See if he passes. I hope they give him a test afterwards just to see.
Sure.
Hey,
Don't bring up testing here.
Yeah, right. Don't bring up testing. One of the we talked
There's
about
the Zia balloon. Look at there.
There it is. Our
what
crack
a crew.
production crew we
what
have
a crew.
here.
There it was. And there's Hamlet.
Yeah, and there's Hamlet. When Pigs Fly, Doug Gant. We've talked about him this week, getting inflated, and we'll be ready to launch in a moment. I can see Johnny Peter now has the Canon balloon standing up right in front of the main stage. Canon, of course, our presenting sponsor. Went by and talked with both Brian and Gennaro yesterday over at the Canon tent after flying, and they reminded me that one of the features I don't think we had mentioned is they actually have loaner cameras here. So if you got out here and forgot to bring a camera, you can go over by the Canon tent and they will sign you out one that you can go out and take some pictures with.
Or maybe you've been considering one of those new fancy long lenses. They'll loan it to you.
They have essentially an observation deck, if you will, set up on the backside of their tent where they have a number of their different camera bodies and lenses set up. You can go back there and take a look through those and see how they perform. They have a vast array of features that they will, and of course, if you brought your camera, you could just go by and find out how to get take some better pictures and that sort of thing. So go by and see the good folks at Canon as we wait for Johnny Petron to launch their balloon. Looks like he was putting a little heat into it there. Should be launching in just a few moments. One of the comments we've had online, Art, that we can talk about for a moment, someone said, please talk about the different sizes of baskets and different types of baskets. People may be noticing, if you're watching the feed closely, you'll see some of the baskets are triangular, others are rectangular or square, and some of that is to deal with, has to do with the different types of different manufacturers of balloons. The Balloon Works, formerly Barnes Balloons, builds triangular baskets. There's a long story behind that about how Tracy Barnes started out in the business. He had 3 tanks, and so you put one here, one here, one here, and you weave the basket around it, and you have a 3-cornered basket. So anytime you see a triangular basket, almost all the time you see a triangular basket, that it will be a Balloon Works basket. The rest of the manufacturers tend to use square or rectangular shapes. They come in a wide variety of sizes. The traditional standard sport balloon basket is about 40 by 48 inches. That would be a basket under maybe a 56, a 69, maybe a 77,000 cubic foot balloon. We'll carry a pilot and maybe two to three passengers. But then you get into the Rainbow Riders, and unfortunately we don't have any of them in our direct view right now.
But we saw them take off earlier.
We saw them launching earlier, and some of those baskets I always describe as like putting a Volkswagen minivan underneath a balloon, because they'll hold
as many or more.
10, 12, 14 passengers, some of them. Nowadays, of course, baskets are built with doors so that people can walk in and walk out rather than having to climb over the side. We have a variety of various handicapped baskets, we have various handicapped equipped baskets, some where wheelchairs can be rolled in and locked into place, others that have literally electrically controlled seats that passengers can be strapped into. Wide array of basket construction these days. And one of the great places to learn a little bit more about that is going over and visiting with our various manufacturers who are on site, do have different styles and sizes of baskets on display, and they are located just next door to the Canon tent and right next to the Sid Cutter Pilot Pavilion. We have Lindstrand, Cameron, Kubitschek, and Ultra Magic balloons I know are all on site. So
and
that's a
there's
great
even
place.
One behind them,
Flydo, which is we'll talk about them at some point, because that is a new light sport aircraft that for years people say, well, why don't you put a propeller on a balloon so you can give it some push. He's done that, and so we'll be talking about that at some point this week as well. But that's a good place to go and visit and learn a lot more about ballooning with any of the manufacturer tents that are here.
A few moments ago we saw the New Mexico True Balloon, and Johnny Petrin got the Canon balloon in there. So the idea here is we were talking about a lot of these sponsors, these company names that are showing up on the sides of balloons. And there is someone who is in charge of all of that, and Ruth Lind has her with us right now. Ruth?
I sure do. I have Lori Riedel with me this morning, and she is the Director of Sponsorship Sales for Balloon Fiesta. But your work goes way beyond the sales aspect.
It does. We are the ones that contact the sponsors. When we sign them to come out, we're the ones that interface the fulfillment process, and we are their contact people. If they have something that they need to discuss with us, we're the contact people on site.
How many sponsors are we talking about?
We normally have around 170 sponsors that include all different levels. Canon is our presenting sponsor. They're in their 4th year, but we have sponsorships of every level. We have them as affordable as $1,000, so it runs the gamut.
So the sponsors are looking for something very specific that only Balloon Fiesta can offer them. Tell us what that is.
A lot of it is exposure, and of course Balloon Fiesta Live is helping us with a lot of that. But with our guest visits that have averaged over 850,000 each year, the sponsors get a lot of exposure.
Have you been tracking the analytics on how Balloon Fiesta Live is getting your sponsors in front of people all over the world?
I have someone that tells that to me every morning, so I do know the views on Balloon Fiesta Live.
And what is the feedback from that from your sponsors?
Oh, my sponsors love it. I mean, it's something that we just started last year, really have promoted it a lot more this year, and so the numbers are great and my sponsors are very happy about it.
Well, we always love to have happy sponsors, and you know that up on the stage, Glen and Art.
Absolutely, we do, and it's good to see Lori, and I guess maybe next year we can look forward to Balloon Fiesta Live, brought to you by...
Well, now is the opportunity to figure out how you're going to put that into your budget plan. If you are a corporation or a company, we would love to talk with you about the reach that this show has, and how we can put your name as part of Balloon Fiesta Live.
We even found out yesterday we have reach we didn't know about, because ABC News, ladies and gentlemen, no less than an authority than ABC News, picked up our feed and put it on theirs, tagged with their little ABC News logo, by the way. But what were you saying, 170,000 views?
170,000 last night. This morning it's gone over, it's pushing 190,000 views just on ABC.
Just on ABC. That doesn't include the outlets we're on, of course, the Fiesta outlets being balloonfiesta.com, the Facebook page, and the YouTube channel. And we've already had requests from some other broadcasters in other parts of the country. I think Art was telling me this morning prior to going on air that a station in Nashville, Tennessee wants to do the same. They want to pick up this feed and put it out to their viewers. So that reach is expanding with what we're doing here with Balloon Fiesta Live. So yeah, next year it'll be Balloon Fiesta Live, brought to you by fill in the blank.
There you go. Well, talking about those numbers, yes, we talked about 190,000 on ABC. On our outlets, just over those 4 days, we have already gone above 300,000 views.
And that's just right under our total views from
for
last
all
year.
of last year.
For all
so,
9 days, and we're not halfway through yet.
So we got a couple of days before we get halfway.
I know. I'm already worn out, and we're not even halfway done yet.
Yeah, great opportunity for you to take your exposure here at the Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta and literally take it worldwide. Hey, good morning to Tom and Cheryl Getch up watching from their new place. They're looking for some breakfast burritos as well.
I saw I can't remember the name now, but a retired launch director said hello from, I believe it was Arizona, where he was watching this morning. And there's a great shot of, well, I was going to say When Pigs Fly, but there's Pegasus. We have a couple of pigs here. Seriously, folks.
The cool pig
The
here.
cool pig is Pegasus, and you see him smiling there with his cool sunglasses. And then Doug Gant has just launched his balloon, Hamlet, When Pigs Fly. The pink pig with the bulging white eyes and the white wings. And as long as you're staying in the pink category, there is Tammy Foley in her balloon Tamo, which is the pink camouflage balloon. And I see she's carrying a banner on the side of it. I'll just grab these Canon binoculars real quickly. And that is a banner for the American Heart Association. It says rise above.
Well, and
probably,
the connection
I think it says
here
rise
is
above heart disease, but it is a banner for the American Heart Association.
The connection here is Tammy and Mike Shrum also have a special shape balloon, which we will see Thursday and Friday.
Right.
Friday.
That is a heart-shaped balloon.
And therefore the connection with the
American Heart Association
banner.
Yep. And of course, Tammy and Mike now are also, Mike is chairman of the Balloon Federation of America's youth program, and they run one of 3 youth camps will be held right here in Albuquerque this coming summer. Tammy is now working with Mike in that regard. And at some point this week, hopefully Mike will be able to come up and join us here on the tower, or perhaps go down and join Ruth or Kim, and we'll talk a little bit about those youth camps. And if you've got someone who's in the 13 to 17 year age range that has an interest in ballooning, the BFA has 3 separate summer camps set up around the country this year where they can go for a week, get completely immersed into the sport of hot air ballooning, learn a lot about not only ballooning but about weather, the science of aviation, and a lot of other great things.
And a lot of hands-on as part
of that. A lot of
education.
hands-on experience as well. So those junior balloonists, and if you can't wait till we interview Mike, you can just log on to BFA.net, Balloon Federation of America.net. You'll find a link to the junior balloonist camps there, and you can find out all the information about it and get your kids signed up if that's something that might be of interest to you.
We've seen a couple of shots, speaking of other shapes here, the Pat-O-Lantern. For some reason that O kind of got stuck in there.
Oh?
Oh, yes, yeah. The pumpkin, the carved jack-o'-lantern, and because Patrick Grogan is flying, it's not the jack-o'-lantern, it's the Pat-O-Lantern.
Okay.
There.
Well, and on the screen right now, one of the family of balloons brought to us by my good friend Andrew Holly from Exclusive Ballooning in the UK. This is Tall Steve. Now, the story behind Tall Steve is out there as well are Puddles and Splash, the original 2 penguin balloons, who procreated, as penguins sometimes do, and created a penguin chick, and the chick is Tall Steve. Andrew brings to us a whole fleet of special shaped critters, as it were. There's Puddles, there's Splash, there's Tall Steve. We have the brand new koala bear from Longleat. We have the Cymbaloo, which is the lion from Longleat, and Wes the wolf. And then later this week, when we get into special shapes, there is a new special shape coming from Exclusive Ballooning. And all I can tell you is it is not an animal like the others are. This one is not.
It is not. I'll confirm that.
And it's green, I'll tell you that much. So we'll have to wait and see.
Oh, another secret reveal
just another little hint. But yeah, they'll be joining us later this week.
Of what to come. Hey, another longtime balloonist has joined Ruth Lynn down on the field there.
Yep.
Ruth has Dewey Reinhardt.
I have Dewey Reinhardt with me here this morning. Dewey is one of my all-time favorite people in the entire universe. And years ago, Dewey was one of the first people who attempted to fly across the Atlantic Ocean in a balloon. And I want you to tell us a little bit about that experience, Dewey.
Well, it was interesting and challenging. Of course, we thought we could make it. We thought we had everything in our favor. You never know what Mother Nature is going to do. It was an exciting flight. We took off on November the 10th, which is just a few days from now, from Bar Harbor, Maine, and our goal was to land in the British Isles somewhere. We almost made it out to the Sable Islands, and the Sable Islands is where the perfect storm took place. If you've never seen that movie, well, there's a low-level jet stream that established itself from the Sable Islands clear across the Atlantic. This was a jet stream that was just about 7,000 or 8,000 feet above the surface. We missed getting into that jet by about 15 miles. So, and we were overtaken by a storm. This was my first flight as pilot in command of a balloon. It was a pretty good size. It was 86,000 cubic foot gas balloon. I'd learned to fly in one of Ed Yost's spy balloons, which were only 16,000 cubic feet, and but I never actually flew solo in one. So this was my first flight. We were overtaken by a storm and forced down in the North Atlantic and seas, and I had some difficulty with the landing. We had eventually had to cut the balloon loose, but we had started hitting the water pretty hard and broke the floorboards in the gondola and decided we probably better cut the balloon loose. And so the seas were running about 6 feet when we landed and about 16 feet when we were picked up by the Canadian Coast Guard.
How long did it take for the Canadian Coast Guard to find you?
They were there fairly quickly, about seven or 8 hours.
That doesn't feel very quick to me. I would like people to remember also that this was back in the days before we all had GPS in our baskets, back before we had radios that could easily communicate anywhere, back before cell phones. You were navigating by charts. How did you even do it?
Well, we weren't successful, obviously. It was difficult to actually determine. We had Omega, a navigation system on board, which is just a glorified Loran system, and it took about 30 minutes to get a fix on where we were and the direction of flight. But and then we took a professor out at the Air Force Academy taught us celestial navigation. So interestingly enough, we learned all the names of the heavenly bodies. Forgot that you can't see up from the balloon. So the celestial navigation didn't help much, but the communications was a problem. We had single sideband long-range radio, and we were supposed to be able to talk to our crew, which was located at the World Weather Center in Washington, D.C. That never worked at all, so we had to relay all of our information through the airlines and through ships. And so by the time we realized that we were being overtaken by a storm, it was too late to do anything about it. So,
my goodness, one of my absolute favorite pieces of artwork in my house is a painting that Dewey sent me of the landing that was a limited edition print, and I look at the image of that balloon hitting the waves in the storm, and I think of my good friend Dewey, who I love dearly.
Thanks, Ruth. This feeling is mutual. Thank you.
Thank you, Dewey. Back upstairs.
Thanks, Ruth. Good to hear from Dewey there.
Yeah, Dewey is he has so many dear friends in the sport of ballooning.
He does.
My memory of Dewey was several years ago when I was living in Plano, Texas. Dewey was, at my invitation, was the guest speaker at a dinner one evening during our annual safety seminar for balloon pilots. And it was one of the most entertaining and enthralling evenings that I think I can ever recall. Dewey just had us absolutely wrapped up in the palm of his hands as he was telling us tales of his ballooning adventures, one of which was about a flight he did up in Colorado Springs when he was just learning to fly. And the balloon ended up flying, got away, I think, if I recall right, got away on tether and was flying after dark.
Oops.
And having to use auto headlights to see the ground and find a way to get the balloon down on the ground safely. He's had a lot of great adventures, not the least of which is Atlantic flight. But yeah, one of the true gentlemen in our sport, just an amazing guy.
And you mentioned Colorado Springs. He ran a balloon rally in Colorado Springs for many years. He has since turned that over to Scott Appleman, who we've talked about with Rainbow Riders, who now runs that event. And it's my honor to be able to go up there and be the announcer for that event.
Absolutely. And
Dewey's always still there, and boy,
yeah.
we just have a great time when the balloons aren't flying, chatting. I'm obviously busy talking when the balloons are flying.
Yeah, and I had a chance to fly in the Colorado Springs event some years ago. And another accolade for Dewey is that he was one of, if not the first, he put a seminar together one year in Colorado Springs for people who wanted to organize ballooning events. He was running the Colorado Springs event, and he brought in, there were a number of people that were interested in starting ballooning events around the country. They came in, and I was one of the speakers at that seminar talking about media relations and emergency media management if things go wrong at some point in time. A very pioneering thing that he did, and as a matter of fact, a quick plug for the Balloon Federation of America, we are in the process now of staging a ballooning symposium that will be in Plano, Texas this year, which again is the same type thing. It's an event for persons from chambers of commerce, convention and visitor tourist bureaus, those kinds of folks that might be interested in bringing a ballooning event to their community. They can go to this symposium, and there'll be experts in event management, in hot air ballooning, and all sorts of things that will be of interest to them, sponsorship sales. And you can find out more about that on the BFA website, which we mentioned earlier. That is www.bfa.net.
So we have still another half a dozen or maybe a dozen balloons left on the field to launch. The launch directors, as we've talked about, are kind of hurrying those pilots along to get in the air. We're slightly after 8 o'clock local time here in Albuquerque. We want to get the target open at 8:30. So we need to get the rest of these balloons in the air, and then we're going to ask those of you on the field, in the middle of the field there, if you will start moving to the edges of the field. Along the east side will probably be a great view as we see the balloons coming from west to east. So if you'll head to the east side, that's where the mountains are.
Yeah.
Start heading that direction.
It's also where all the food and drink is on Main Street.
Yes, it is, and all those other fabulous things over there. Start heading that way so our field crew can get the flagging up as we open up the flag the field off and get the target area cleared for those balloons that have gone elsewhere and will attempt to fly into the field. So kind of a reverse here. We've had a few hundred balloons take off from the field, and they're flying away, and the next batch is out there somewhere, hopefully in the spot that will get them to the field to drop that marker.
And ideally, today, we'll see the balloons as we get ready for competition. They'll be flying toward us. Yesterday, they flew into the field from the south, so they came from behind our rooftop studio and really were not in our view until they were just almost directly above Balloon Fiesta Park. Today, I'm guessing they're going to be coming out of the Rio Rancho area, probably, somewhere that direction.
Yep.
And flying from the northwest to the southeast to get into the park today. So
we'll kind of see them all just kind of pop up out of the river, the bosky area.
And then it'll be like a tsunami of hot air coming at us as they come in toward the field. So that'll be happening shortly. Quickly, before we go to Kim, who has an interview for us, I'll be with you in just a moment, Kim. I just wanted to point out, we talked earlier about Fly-Do, the new sport lightweight balloon that does, in fact, have a propeller attached, a little ultralight engine and propeller attached to the basket. I believe I see their balloon inflated on the far west side of the field, that white balloon with the rainbow-colored checkerboards on the top and the bottom, and you see, I believe that's the Fly-Do logo. I stopped by and met them just the other day, just briefly, and so I'm curious to see if we might get to see that aircraft fly this morning. But as you said, if they are going to launch, they're going to have to do so pretty soon, because the directors are getting everybody either in the air or down so that we can begin to clear the field for the start of competition. So we'll watch to see if the Fly Dude does take flight. So watch that little white balloon out there. I think I see some movement.
I have him under my Canon binoculars here,
okay.
and he is airborne.
He is airborne. So watch that little white balloon as it comes by, because it is definitely unique to all of the balloons that are here at Balloon Fiesta. Meantime, while we watch that and start to clear the field, let's go back down to Kim.
Okay.
Is Ryan Duff. Ryan Duff is a crew person with the Beambow balloon, right?
Correct, yep.
And where are you from?
I'm from here, Albuquerque.
And how long have you been crewing for?
Since I was able to walk. My dad's a pilot, so we've been doing it a long time.
And how did you get hooked up with the Beambow folks?
We know the owner of the balloon, and I've met him at a festival over the summer, and he said, "You want to crew?" And I said, "Yep."
Yep. And so when you're crewing for Beambow, which of course is a very popular special shape, what are you looking for as a crew person, and what's on your mind that you're paying attention to?
Well, considering it's a very popular shape, there's always kids running around, and we want to make sure they're safe. And there's very dangerous things like the fans, and so we have to have somebody at the fan making sure that they're not running into it, and make sure they're staying out of the way so we don't run into them.
Okay. And do you normally crew for your dad?
I do. This is my first year with the Beambow folks.
Okay. Well, thank you. You got to run, I know, because they're going to inflate Beambow, I think, or at least it's laid out, so.
Yep, we're excited. We're hoping to inflate here in a couple minutes.
Okay, well, thank you, and we're going to be heading down to the competition target here in just a minute ourselves.
Great, Kim. Thank you very much. We'll look forward to that. It looks like we have most of our regular shapes off the field now. Our field crew will be putting the flagging out. Again, if you are out in the field, we need you to move to the east edge of the field, please. Move to the east edge so that we can get our target area flagged off so that our competitors, the target opens at 8:30 this morning. That is just about 20 minutes away or so, and we need to get the flagging up and the field cleared, the target set up before we release our competitive balloons to come on in here.
I mentioned, sorry, Art, just a moment ago, I wanted to point out again the Fly Do balloon that is one of the last to leave the field, that white balloon with the rainbow colors on it. I was just watching through our Canon binoculars, and he has just pulled into position. The little ultralight engine and propeller actually fold down and alongside the basket for launch, but he has now lifted it up into position. He's not yet cranked up the engine. The propeller
so
is
he's
not
flying
running.
Like everyone else
so
at the moment.
He's flying just as a hot air balloon at the moment, but you can look up. I can see it, of course, much better because I'm using these great Canon binoculars, but he does have the little engine in place, and maybe he'll crank that thing up and get a little propulsion going before the morning is out. But that's a brand new sport light aircraft, absolutely brand new to ballooning, and their booth is set up just over by the statue, right beside the Sid Cutter Pavilion. So if you go to the statue and look just to the side of it, you'll see where their location is, and you can go by and find out a lot more about this new light sport aircraft and the sport of hot air ballooning there.
So you mentioned the great binoculars that we have here that are going to be put into heavy use here as the competition flyers start coming in. We wanted to take a moment and talk with Brian Griggs, who gets us those binoculars for use all the time.
I didn't know
Brian, welcome. Thanks for coming up here. Thanks for the use of the binoculars again this year.
You are so welcome. We're so happy to be here and happy to help you any way we can.
So what does Canon see in the Balloon Fiesta to become the presenting sponsor, to bring a huge tent out here, to loan cameras and lenses and all kinds of expertise? What is it? What does Canon hope to get out of this? What do you see in this?
Well, that's a great question, Art. Thank you for giving me the chance to talk about that. Canon gets a lot from this event, and we're so happy to be back for our 4th year in 2018. Balloon Fiesta is an amazing event. As we all just saw, the flight is amazing, and there's no better way for Canon to interact with our customers every day. We've met so many on the field. In fact, if I can tell you a quick story.
Yes, please.
We did something for the first time ever this year. This morning, we were out on the field visiting with our customers, thanking them.
Yes.
And totally unbeknown to them, we surprised 3 amazing Canon customers with a surprise balloon flight, and they're our VIP customers of the day.
Oh, are they up in the Canon balloon with Johnny?
They are up in the Canon balloon with Johnny right now, having a fantastic time.
Wow.
Shooting amazing pictures, and we'll be hosting them back in our tent for a special meet and greet later this morning.
Oh, excellent.
That's awesome.
How did you pick them?
You know, we really wanted this to be a great chance to surprise and delight our customers. Like I mentioned, our whole purpose of being here is to have a new way to engage engage people and really get them excited about imaging. And so we were just visiting around our balloon, spotting who was shooting great pictures. A fantastic young couple, Daniel and Aubrey, and a very exciting young lady, Katie, and we saw they were taking amazing shots and just offered them the opportunity. None of them have flown before, so it was just another amazing Canon opportunity for them.
So Brian, tell us a little bit about the various services and experiences that are available over in your display. I know you have loaner cameras. I know you have cameras set up where you can actually go out and take a look through some of the different bodies and lenses. I know I can bring my camera over, get it serviced, get some tips on some of the features, because I've got that new Canon M50 I was talking to you about yesterday.
Great camera.
There's all kinds of buttons on there that I haven't yet figured out, so I need to come spend some time.
Absolutely. Well, I'll start with what might be great for you. We have some amazing Canon experts. We have an expert bar at the back wall of our tent.
Yep.
Our guests are welcome to come in, talk to them. If you're an experienced photographer, because I know from your travels and the cameras you have, you've been around photography for a little while. But if you're new, or if you're experienced, come sit and chat. We'll give you some great tips during the morning for shooting balloons as they ascend, or during the evening sessions, great tips on taking fireworks and pictures of the glow. And as you mentioned also, we're doing free cleaning checks for our customers. We've been amazingly busy. All of our appointments are getting booked, and we're even taking walk-ins. We have a photo opportunity where we're taking souvenir photos, sending them via email, and giving them a beautiful print, because photography is great, but it's not a real image until you printed it to make sure that you have it forever, right?
Exactly.
So people can see how beautifully our printers turn out for them. And then when they find a camera they love, we have amazing show discounts in our pop-up store in the center of the tent.
Well, and if I can give you guys a quick plug, if you're into social media at all, you can follow Canon on Twitter. I do, and they run photo contests there. Not long ago, they had one where they were looking for scenic landscape pictures. And as you say, I've been around photography for a while, and I bought that new M50 to take on my annual trips over to the UK. And so I entered the contest with just a simple hashtag, posted one of my pictures I had taken on one of my trips to Scotland, and lo and behold, I got a direct message one day from Canon saying, "We love your picture, we'd like to use it." And what they do is they select the winner of all the entries, and then they post it as their banner photograph on the Canon Twitter feed. And so I had my picture up there for a week, and I was quite honored. That was quite a thrill.
It's really exciting to see that, right?
Yeah,
so thank you for following us on Twitter. Don't forget Instagram.
Right.
And Facebook. We run the similar contests all the time. And we even just like to find a great photo from our customers and just make it the image of the day.
Exactly.
And if you're taking pictures out here at the field, don't forget to tag us. We're seeing some incredible shots. The hashtag is Canon in the Clouds, and we would love to see it.
Oh, cool. Canon in the Clouds.
Correct.
Okay, and that would be on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, no matter where you're posting
wherever you use a hashtag, yep.
Right.
So I learned yesterday that, of course, we deal with Canon USA here in Albuquerque, seems like, but I have some friends from Belgium who managed to bring me a Canon pin from Belgium.
Yes.
And so they wanted to make sure that you had one of these.
Oh, thank you very much.
And so they sent that along, so my friends had come here about every other year from Belgium, and so I have one, and they wanted to make sure that you had one as well for the support that you give Balloon Fiesta Live, and of course Balloon Fiesta in general.
Please extend our gratitude to our friends in Belgium.
We will do that for you. They're probably watching over in the media tent right now.
We'll find them.
Brian and I visited yesterday out in front of the Canon tent. I was over to see my good friend Gennaro, who works in media relations essentially with Canon, and he actually helped me it was his recommendation I take a look at the M series, because I was looking for I wanted a DSLR camera, but I wanted something compact that was a good travel camera.
Yes.
I didn't have to carry an extra bag full of 14 different lenses and 3 bodies and that sort of thing. And he put me onto the M line, and I ended up with the M50. And I went over and traded some pins with him yesterday, and I saw you and I didn't give you those, so.
Oh, thank you very much.
I don't know if you have one of our Balloon Fiesta Live pins yet, and then also my announcer pin. So
thank you very much. I don't have the announcer pin.
Well, there you go.
I really appreciate it. We'll make sure we take good care of you.
We're using some Canon cameras as part of Balloon Fiesta Live.
We are. Gennaro, who you were just talking about, managed to work with our official photographers to get them the Canon gear to be able to photograph this event. And the balloon camera, the camera that we're putting in a balloon with a portable backpack here, is also a Canon camcorder.
We love to hear that. I really have enjoyed watching you guys use our binoculars and how they help you see the balloons
Oh,
better.
yeah,
But I was watching you and thinking you might like to take some photos, so I think we'll have to add cameras up here in the announcer booth for the binoculars.
Oh, yeah, we'd love to try that out.
Yeah, on some days, you probably saw I was taking a picture with my iPhone, and it's only because
that's what made me think it.
The M50 is down in the truck, and it's just sometimes it's a case of I just got so much stuff to load up and down here. But some
with
days
spotter apps and just all the stuff
iPads
we have.
Those binoculars. My backpack gets filled in a hurry.
Consolidate them together there.
But if you want to bring some cameras up, we certainly will use them.
We will. Our CEO often says, the best camera is the one you have.
Right.
So, we all understand that we use our phones, but to take pictures of the quality that you want for your memories, you need a real Canon camera.
Well,
so we're going to make sure you have that.
Thank you. And as you
Thanks,
know,
Brian.
I'm editor of Ballooning Magazine, and so when I'm out here shooting, I'm shooting pictures for our publication, and certainly the better quality I can get, then so much the better. So, if a camera shows up, we'll put it to use, I guarantee you.
I think a camera may show up.
Okay.
Yeah,
we can take care of that. Brian Griggs from Canon, thank you again for all of your support. Thanks for coming up and chatting with us this morning.
It's always our pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian, for you and Canon and everything they do for ballooning. It's they're an awesome presenting sponsor, and the whole staff there are just absolutely wonderful people. You need to go by and check out the cameras, take some pictures. As you said, if you didn't bring a camera, you can go get one of the loaners. If you brought your camera, you can get it cleaned, get it serviced. You can get tips on how to take great photographs out here. An incredible presenting sponsor is Canon, and we're so thrilled to work with them.
So we are, the flagging is being set up. In fact, I can see that right down on the field now. They're going around. Looks like we've got the field fairly well cleared. And guess what I see out in the middle of the target area? I see a boat.
I spy with my little eye. Yeah.
Yep.
And actually, it's a little further away this year than it has been. So I'm reaching for these outstanding image stabilization Canon 12 by 32 IS, which means image stabilization.
And that's really the key to that, because you can look, not only do you have the great power of those binoculars, but usually when you have binoculars without image stabilization, it gets a little wobbly over there.
Yeah, things are a little bit shaky.
That stabilization allows you to kind of, just literally stabilize the image and be able to see it so that you can read the registration numbers or anything else out there.
Or the name like the SS cutter on the boat.
Yes.
It literally is just a little button you push and it locks the image. And if you shoot modern cameras, you're probably familiar with image stabilization in your lenses, but now we have it in these binoculars, and it is a wonderful resource to have. Here, let me move some of this for you. Thank you.
So there is multiple targets, if you will, out there on the field today. It looks like they're setting up one of the minimum double drops, as well as the boat, which signifies the Sid Cutter Memorial Task. And there is a great story. There is a great story behind why we have a boat, and we call it the Sid Cutter Memorial Task. And our reporter Kim Vesley, our reporter Kim Vesley is working on. We're going to let her see if she can't get a special interview to tell us more about the story behind there, and we'll talk a little bit about the competition as that has it. But what we can do while we're getting the target set up, and actually I see a couple of competitors starting to get in the air already, and the target does not open till 8:30, which is another 12 minutes away. But while we're doing that, Ruth Lind has snagged a guest for us.
Did I snag you, Jay? I'm here with Jay Sattenspiel, and he's in charge of a lot of the hospitality here on the field, but in particular the Gondola Club. It's a wonderful feature at Fiesta.
Thank you, ma'am. We've been out here for 3 years, and each year what we try to do is enhance the food experience, the culinary experience. Obviously the experience is mostly the fiesta and the balloons, but when you're waiting and you just, with anxious, we provide some great food for our guests at the Gondola Club.
How can people connect with the Gondola Club?
Well, it's through the fiesta that they get online and they buy the tickets and so forth, and then once the tickets have been sold, and most of these sessions are sold out, again, we create that experience from a culinary perspective.
And once they get to the Gondola Club, what do they find?
They find an amazing experience. We're one of the few folks that are on the field that actually cook fresh food. So every morning, each dinner, the food is all prepared here, cooked here, and it's better than a restaurant experience because you're getting the food delivered right to you.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Jay. Back upstairs.
Sorry, we're back, Ruth. I was having breakfast, and Art is on the phone to some of the event officials, so you caught us kind of off guard there. And Steve, did you say that Kim has an interview, or she's getting one for us? No interview just yet. Okay, we're hoping that she's going to line one up for us. So, yeah, we are, field is cleared, and we said the SS Cutter is out there on the field. It's a little black and white boat, and hopefully we'll be able to tell you if Kim is able to get that interview. We'll share with you the story. If she doesn't, we'll share the story anyway, but we don't want to tell it until we try to do that, of how this task came to be and the history behind it.
So Kim has one of the two interviews who can help us tell that story. The other one is on their way out there. And so we will have that story, just not right at the moment.
Oh, okay. So we're okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, down on the field, some of the balloons that are standing static, there is the carousel balloon with incredible artwork around the balloon. You might want to take a very close-up look at that. There'd be some great photo ops to be taken there. And on the very far north end of the field is the Van Gogh balloon, one of our special shapes, new to Fiesta. It's been around for a number of years over in Europe, but making its first visit to Fiesta. And as you said, Art, some of the competitors already in the air and coming this way, even though the targets aren't open yet. But as we were saying, with the wind direction this morning, we should be able to clearly see most all of the competitors coming at us, because it looks as they will be launching out of the Rancho
Corrales and Rio Rancho area.
Corrales and Rio Rancho, sorry, thank you.
They don't have to quite get to Rio Rancho. If you're familiar with the area, they don't have to quite get to Rio Rancho to be a mile away.
No, they don't have to, but
yeah, and some people like to be like just outside that mile. They want to be as close as they can.
I never liked a 1 mile fly-in, because to me, by the time you're in the air and you sight the target and start to set up your flight line, you're already there. I always wanted to be a little further out, so I wouldn't be surprised if there are some taking off out of Rio Rancho. And of course, that's a prime landing zone, which means there's also some great takeoff sites out there as well.
Exactly. So this first one coming in, the blue at the top and the bottom with the yellow, white, and red checkerboard going along the yellow pennants there. That's Mojo Blue. Joe Candelaria from Albuquerque flying that balloon for it. The name of that came from Joe's wife's name is Mo, so Mo Joe, and the balloon is blue, so it's Mojo Blue. And again, they've got multiple targets to aim for. The bow of the boat, and we'll hear that story in a few moments. And I haven't confirmed, but looking at the shape of the targets out there, that looks like it would be a minimum double drop out there, which is basically a couple of V's, the white fabric set up with a couple of V's, and you want to get as close to the inside of those V's as possible. So you would drop two markers, one on one V, one on the other, and the distance to the center of the V on each of those added together is your distance, which then determines your score.
We'll have to see if we can't get in touch with Sam or one of the other officials and find out the specifics of the task, but that could well be it. Sometimes, though, you can use a target like that for a max distance drop as well, where you would be able to be as far away as from the tip of the two V's, but we'll see. You can see the sun is not yet over the Sandias, or at least not breaking through the cloud level there yet, but it is lighting up the western mesa and the balloons that are launching. I can see Hearts of Fire is out there, the red and pink balloon with the Valentine hearts all around it. Just next to it is five-time national champion, past world champion Nick Donner, one of the top competitive pilots in our country, and he is in the air in his orange balloon that then has kind of a white, black, and silver diamond shape in the center of the air. So he's one of the first competitors up.
There you see them on our screen right now, and while you were talking, describing those balloons, Joe Candelaria dropped his marker on the target. I didn't see it coming down until it was too late to grab my binoculars. I'm going to get him closer here. And so, yes, they're dropping. I wonder if that's early. He's 6 minutes early.
Yeah, so that won't
will either won't, or there'll be a penalty assessed to that. So, and the results yesterday, pretty incredible drops yesterday. I looked at the results. I'll have to call them up so I can tell you who was where in the standings. and some fairly new young pilots who don't compete very often. Pretty excited about their showing yesterday as well.
Well, in the type of weather conditions we had yesterday, where it was basically a straight shot across the field, you either get it or you don't.
Right.
It's not unusual in those circumstances to find some pilots who sometimes will not, typically don't score that well, do score, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but it is largely in that case sometimes a result of luck. And that's why when you have like national competitions and world competitions, they fly many tasks over many days.
Right.
Because in that process, the truly best competitors usually rise to the top. Anyone, including me, can get lucky. A blind squirrel can find an acorn every once in a while, and I did. I won a pole grab once in my flying career. And it was as much luck as anything else. I actually followed one of my good friends to the target, and I just got closer to it than he did.
Sure.
But so it's not unusual to find names scoring well that you wouldn't perhaps normally see in the scoring results, because there is a larger degree of luck involved in a day like yesterday than there is over a long haul or on a day when there's great steerage.
Well, I used to talk about when I would get to the target, which, like you, was very infrequently, that I had 10% luck in getting there and 90% pilot error. So that was how I always got there, and I obviously did something wrong to get here. My story on coming in for it was a key grab, which is similar to a pole grab, coming in one time, and boy, I had it. It was lined up. I was dead on. Everything was just perfect. I was going to grab that key. And here comes another balloon right down next to me.
Oh, no.
We touched, and we split the pole.
Oh.
So we split the pole. And it's like, the one time I was close enough to see the pole.
I remember one year flying in Nashville, Tennessee, and like you, I was an infrequent visitor to the targets, but I was going to nail a target. And I was listening to the radio, and we all have radio communications to our crews, and usually many of the other balloons are all on the same channels.
Right.
I'll never forget my longtime mentor, Dr. Bill Bussey, coming on the radio and calling his crew, and he says, "You know who's going to win this thing if he doesn't scare himself because he's so close to the damn target is Glen." And I almost choked because I heard Bill say that.
So he helped you scare yourself.
And I did beat Bill that year, which is the only time ever that I scored higher than Bill Bussey. But that one year was great fun. And but yeah, he was on the radio and said, Glen's going to win this thing if he doesn't scare himself just because he's so close to the target. And he was literally true. So I'm like you. It was usually a lot of pilot error if I ended up that close to a target. Hey, Bimbo has joined us on the field.
As we heard they would from their crew member.
Right, just beyond the POW MIA balloon is the giant Bimbo Bear, and they too are obviously a vendor here on the field where you can go and sample some of their great baked goods. And so while we wait on the target opening and the arrival of the competitors, let's go back down to the field where Ruth has, wait. Oh, okay. So maybe getting things, now she's ready. Okay, well then, let's go down to the field, and Ruth has another guest.
I have Brad T. Moyer with me this morning. As you all know, Brad is our meteorologist for Balloon Fiesta. He is phenomenal. I've so enjoyed working with Brad. We worked together last year on the America's Challenge gas balloon race. Spent a lot of time together.
Very much so.
So Brad, if you were a competitive pilot out there this morning, what would your strategy be?
That's a really good question. I think there's not going to be the box this morning that we typically see here in Albuquerque, so it's going to be a one-shot deal, but you'd certainly want to go off to the northwest somewhere and find something that's in line with the field and work your way in.
What are the different directions we're seeing this morning as we go from the ground up high?
So what it starts off with is a northwest here on the surface, and as you increase in altitude, it actually takes on more of a west to east flow, so right toward the mountain. And maybe if you get up quite high, it would be from the southwest to the northeast. So it's basically a counterclockwise, or if the pilot's flying, a left turn instead of a right.
So there is a little bit of steering out there today.
A little bit, but not as much as we typically see here in Albuquerque. But But what's unique, I guess, about this morning is we've seen variable winds already, with the non-competitive pilots taking off here on the field. We've seen different facets of wind develop, and I think we'll see that in the competition here this morning as well.
That sounds great. Thanks, Brad. Back upstairs, Glen.
Turn the mic back on. Thanks, Ruth and Brad. And Brad, I hope I'm not telling stories out of line here, but Brad was also, his meteorology skills are often in demand, and Brad was the weather officer, the Met officer for our for Andrew Hawley's Fly Every State campaign a couple of years ago when he flew all 50 states. Although because of some work requirements, you'll find Brad credited on the video and in the book as Chad. There were some reasons why we couldn't identify who he was at the time, but he was our chief meteorology officer, so his service is often in demand. Nick Donner, as I'm watching the balloons approach, has climbed very, very high in the sky. He is in that orange balloon that is way up there now, just now beginning to make a descent toward the field, and you can see the orange balloon with the black, white, and then silver and orange diamond shape around the midway sides of the balloon. And you can also begin to see, as he's making a very rapid descent, how the balloon not deflates, but deforms just slightly. However, it basically remains very stable because this is one of those racing balloons you'll hear us talking about, more of an egg or football shape compared to the traditional teardrop shaped balloon, and it can fall very, very rapidly, and Nick is falling very, very quickly as he's making a descent down into the field. But you see how the balloon basically maintains its shape. Now, if he were in a traditional teardrop shaped balloon and trying to do that, one, it wouldn't come down that quickly, and two, as it did, usually what happens is one whole side of the balloon caves in and it forms like a question mark in the sky. And so that's one of the great benefits to these racing balloons, as we refer to them, because they are able to, and look how quickly now he's down just a few hundred feet above the ground, where a moment ago he was a couple thousand feet up. And that's one of the great benefits of this particular design of balloon, is they can ascend and descend at great speed, but maintain their stability and their inflation so that the balloon stays completely flyable during the process.
So I was just listening. They officially have opened the targets. Okay, so it sounds like that interview we promised a few minutes ago about the Sid Cutter Memorial Task is ready to go, so let's go down to Kim.
Okay, and we are live, and we have two very special ladies here. One is Jewel Cutter, and Jewel is going to tell us a little bit about the boat competition and the SS Sid Cutter and the Sid Cutter Memorial. How did that start?
Well, this task is a replica of one of the tasks that Sid flew in the Nationals back in 1986 when he won the U.S. National Championships. And the task is to get your bag on the very tip end of the boat, and that's the tightest score. So the challenge is, if you want to take a chance, you're brave. The other scoring areas are over here and marked. So it's not a score if you get on the grass. It is a score only if you get on the boat. So it's a competition of your challenging ability.
And in the original competition, the boat was in a lake, right?
Was in a lake. So this is our pretend lake today. And our scoring areas are off to the side unless they do get into the boat.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, so you were married to Sid for a long time. What was it like being married to a guy like Sid?
Well, for 35 years, I was his right-hand girl, and it was an honor. It was an honor. I was very happily married, and our life was full of a tremendous amount of adventures. We were all over the world, and it was a happy life.
Okay, and I also have here Charlotte Kenny. Charlotte is the winner of the Heritage Award this year, which is given for contributions to preserving the Fiesta's history and also contributions to Fiesta. She's a former balloon meister, First of all, were you surprised?
Yes, I was very surprised to be a Heritage Award winner because it just never occurred to me that I would receive this honor.
And what was it like being Balloon Meister in 1982?
You know, it was a lot different than the Balloon Meisters are here, I think, today, because we used to put the field together. We used to have to put the fence up. I remember them trying to teach me how to use a walkie-talkie. I was not very good at pushing to talk, but it was still very similar.
Yeah, and were you honored to get the Heritage Award?
I really was, yes. I really respect the ballooning community and am so honored to be recognized by them.
Okay, well, they want us to get out of the way of the target because people are going to start dropping markers on it. And I am here to tell you, if you've ever had a baggie dropped on your head, you do not want to have that happen to you. So we'll go back to you guys now and watch the competition along with you.
Thank you very much, Kim, and hi to Jewel and Charlotte. Charlotte was the Balloon Meistrin. My very first year I ended up out here at Balloon Fiesta. My story there is I was working for a local radio station, and well, as things happen in the radio business, occasionally the good guys get fired, and I did. I got fired on Friday, Thursday night actually, and so I was out here on the Friday before Balloon Fiesta started. John Davis, who we heard from earlier, was the president of the board of directors of the Balloon Fiesta. Charlotte was the Balloon Meistrin. I had interviewed them on Thursday before getting fired, and I came out here and started volunteering, and I have not left since. So, yes, we are in the middle of or at the very beginning of our competition now. Nick Donner, who Glenn talked about a few minutes ago, ended up a little bit to the west of the target there. I did not see him drop, but he's coming down to the south end of the field in here and will set his balloon down for landing here, followed right behind that by yet another one. That would be, let me grab that real quick. That would be James Reagan bringing the blue one. They're just touching down right there. And you see you come down. We have our launch directors here doing double duty. They launched all those other non-competitive balloons out of here, and now they're going to be catching the competitors as they come in and land. They'll ask these balloon pilots to quickly deflate the balloon to make room for all the rest of them coming in behind. Nice shot of number 68 coming in. The banner numbers that are below 300 are our competitors. That's Jerry Kopis in the Easy Balloon. Big white equator, black bands, and red and yellow along the bottom, and we saw it was basket number 68. And they'll be, looks like he's going to fly right over the edge of the field there and may land right in up close and personal to those of you on that edge of the field. So again, the idea of the competition is to get as close to the bow of the boat. That is the perfect score, on the very bow of the boat. If it falls off the boat into the grass, that's like falling into the water, and therefore no score. And those other white flagging areas out there are the shoreline and the islands that represent them. So as long as your marker falls on land, and again, land in this case meaning within those white flagged areas or on the boat itself, then you will have a score. If it falls in the grass, not within those white markers or on the boat, then you fell into the water and therefore no score on that throw. So it's kind of like, do I go for that little tiny piece or do I go for the safe one?
Just back, it's risk versus
reward. Yes,
absolutely.
It definitely is. And you know, I was just hearing some wind reports out at basically kind of where Rio Rancho and Bernalillo, two towns out there, come together, that the winds at that intersection are at 10 knots. So a little breezy out there at the takeoff spot.
I was going to say, just before I stepped away, I thought as I was watching those first few competitors come in that we were beginning to feel just a little bit of breeze here on the rooftop studio.
So that was out there, and it's been pretty steady, they say. It's just changing around, been pretty steady. But right here on the field again, it's still nice and calm. And there's a little bit of steerage up. Well, yeah, because those guys are coming to the south. Those guys are going southeast. Yeah, there's going to be a whole lot of maneuvering going on out there to try and find. There's not a. It's kind of a couple of degrees this way and a couple of degrees that way.
Yeah.
There's not a lot. There's not. You can't just go any direction.
I'm glad you're doing the directions because you're a local and I'm not. I get confused just whether we're on the north or the south end of the field sometimes. Often, actually. So when you start talking southeast, south this, I'm going, oh, okay, that's where you can excel because I get lost. I get all kinds of turned around.
So there was just a second ago a little bit of that distortion you were talking about in a regular balloon. The white, there it is. You can see just the top being caving in just a little bit on the right-hand side of the top. And as he's going up quickly, the air pressure is kind of pressing down on the top right-hand side of that. Certainly not anything to be concerned about, but that's the difference between the regular shaped balloons and the racers you were talking about a few moments ago.
Able to maintain a greater degree of stability as they are either ascending or descending. I remember a flight I did years ago, my first flight to 10,000 feet, and I was radioing down to another balloon that was following me up. I said, geez, I'm up here and there's an awful lot of turbulence, and I didn't realize the turbulence I was feeling was because I was climbing so rapidly that I was about to float the parachute in the top. There was so much ram air pushing down on the balloon. I mistook it to think it was some sort of turbulence or I was passing through some wind shear, when in fact it was just because I was actually climbing at an unsafe speed in a round balloon. Didn't make that mistake twice. That was a lesson easily learned.
Yes.
And fortunate that I didn't float the top. And by floating the top, we're talking about what happens is the top comes loose and then floats inside the balloon, and the balloon can deflate.
It doesn't reseal. Like it should.
And therefore, the balloon can vent air constantly, and it doesn't take long for you to deflate the balloon in flight that way. It's quite a dangerous situation. And so I was on the edge and kind of learned that lesson the hard way, but I learned it. Thank goodness. Wow, I don't know which of the Hartzels that is, but he is skying up there.
Well, the one coming in close has little stars around it, and I just read with my binoculars from Canon that is banner number 3, which would make that Rhett Hartzell, the one dropping in.
Okay.
And yes, you're right. One of them has gone very, very high.
And I'm going to bet that's probably Joe. Yeah, because it's the other balloon that has the silver outline around the stars, and Lucas's balloon I do not believe has that silver outline. I can't read that banner number, but if it is Joe, it'd be banner number 21, as I recall. Also high over the field is Dr. Bill Bussey. Talked about him a moment ago, being one of my longtime ballooning mentors. He is it's a black balloon. You can see a forest green and kind of a deep sky blue diamond shape around the center of the balloon.
See if I can catch the...
Rhett, of course, is a past national champion and world champion. I say past. Actually, I have to think back now. I believe Rhett won the national championship again this year in Shreveport. I was there. I should remember that. But I've slept since then.
So we're seeing Rhett just drop right in on the screen here as well.
He's coming just over one of the island.
Baggie in hand. So,
yep, he's just put his baggie down.
That appears to be right on the edge of the island. He might be just short.
Yeah, it's hard to tell if he's on the fabric or not. But if I know Rhett, he is right on.
Yes.
And now let's see. Now to see, we have multiple markers. So can he go for the boat now? Is it a multiple drop?
I think what we have is just the memorial out there. So all the white areas would be the islands or the shore, and then the boat.
So he went for a shore score there as opposed to a potential score on the boat. Is that what we're?
I think
assuming?
that's what. Yes.
I'm going to continue to watch him in our binoculars. And,
okay.
Yeah, he doesn't. He's got his back turned to the boat, so clearly he's not concentrating on. Well, now he's turned around, but he's also not venting, and he's going over the boat. So
have a marker being wound up from the white and rainbow color vertical stripes. Well, we were winding it up, and now we're rethinking and refolding the tail. And can we get there? And now there's the throw.
Meanwhile, Rhett has stabilized his altitude and is using his turning vents. The balloon's spinning a bit And I think what he's probably doing is just lining up, and I would bet he's going to land right over there just outside the crowd line. That would be my guess as to what his...
And I believe that was Sue Oldenburg in the white balloon there with that marker, and it's definitely way out there in the grass or in the water in our task.
Okay, and this next balloon in, the green with the yellow, orange, and red accents, the black squares in it. This is banner number 41. I can't tell if that's a 0 in the first number. The banner's a bit folded.
It doesn't match the... That's a 141.
141, okay.
Which doesn't line up with our...
That doesn't match either, does it?
Nope.
Okay, well, up high, dropping in the sky blue balloon with the dark blue and red slashes through the side of the balloon, that would be Jonathan Wright.
You know that banner, 141 we were talking about, the green, orange, yellow, that there is actually registered to Daniel Liberti, who is supposed to be flying some Rainbow Rider balloons.
Okay.
So he may be having a day off from flying passengers and flying competition today.
Well, Jonathan Wright is dropping in. Jonathan is well known, if for no other reason than he has a rather notable mohawk haircut, if you will. And he's in the that next balloon there, the sky blue with the darker blue and red accents. See if he's getting a marker ready here in a moment.
Here's a good shot of the boat.
Looks like Jonathan's going to take a shot at the boat. Jonathan did throw at the boat, but I think he's a little short. Couldn't quite see. There's a couple of scoring officers between me and where his marker fell, or in my viewpoint anyway.
So the other blue one out there with the yellow-black checkerboards at the top and the bottom, Lane Walters from Holtz Summit, Missouri. I'm hearing the officials talking about him.
Did we not just say ground contact on him?
That's what I just heard. And they're looking for the banner number. So we could tell our safety officials out there that it's banner 71. You cannot touch the ground in the scoring area out there without getting a penalty on your competition. You can come right down to the ground, but if you touch the ground, then that would get you a penalty score. And you're supposed to be 75 feet above the ground until you get to the field. And then once you go into the flagging is where you can actually make the drop all the way to the ground we just talked about.
Right. Jonathan Wright's banner number, just for the sake of argument, is 226, by the way. I just saw that on the feed.
That is not Joe dropping in.
That is not. So that must be Lucas.
The banner's around the other side.
Yeah, it's kind of turning, but I can't quite read it yet.
Yep.
It would be Lucas, or I think Wayne Standifer is also, but I think Wayne's is flying Joe's original balloon, and it's older than the one that we see here. So I'm guessing this would be Lucas.
Yep, I just got to see the banner number 7.
Okay, so
that is Lucas.
Gonna watch and see how he does.
Sure love these binoculars.
Yeah, I do too.
Lets us come right in, stabilize it. Yeah,
I could use these. Boy,
look at that. He's just.
Look, he's going.
Oh, he went for the score.
He went for the score on the island, the edge of the island.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Yep.
I thought he was going to come right over and drop it on the bow of the boat for a moment there. I was just thinking I could sure use these binoculars at some of the other events that I announce, like the Plano and the U.S. Nationals and the Lyle Eyes to the Skies, and you do some events as well where they would come in awfully handy. Here is Gary Haven in his balloon, Almost Heaven, or Almost Haven, depending on how you want to pronounce it. And it is the bright yellow balloon with the Texas Lone Star on the side. He's just out over the edge of the western parking area. Gary is a past U.S. state champion and a great supporter of competitive ballooning. Gary and his wife, also the founders of the Curves Workout Centers.
black, white, orange, yellow racer dropping in just in front of that one is Bruce Wood from Carbondale, Colorado.
Yeah. I see Bill Adler in Bill's turn high in the sky over the center south or center north end of the field. No, I'm sorry, that is not Bill's balloon. Now that I get my binoculars on it, I thought it was, but I'm sorry, misidentified him.
So Bruce winding up for a throw. Again from the black, white, yellow, orange racer. There goes the throw. That appears to be, well, can't, the perspective's just a little too far off.
Yeah, a little bit.
But he appears to be right in there by the boat.
Looking at Gary Haven, but Gary appears to be well to the north of the target zone. He may make a throw and try to get into the island, one of the marked island areas. Otherwise, he's probably just going to float across the north end of the field and land.
Take a landing spot over there.
Enjoying a bit of green chili stew here this morning. This is certainly nice.
So a lot of folks still up in the sky trying to maneuver. They have till, did I say 10 before? That they were going to leave the target open. And the strategy seems to be come over the field high and then drop down right as you get over the field, make a quick descent to drop in.
One of the balloons doing that right now, I believe that is Steve Jones, or it could be Dick Goss. We have two balloons that are identical. Steve's is a racer. Dick Goss's is the same pattern, but a slightly larger balloon. Although Dick's a ride operator, I don't recall that he typically flies competition, but that doesn't look like Steve's racer either. And I can't quite.
Looks like 131.
Yeah, I think you're right.
That would be it. That would be Steve Jones.
That would be Steve. Okay.
That is Steve.
Steve is a past U.S. national champion, hails from Belton, Texas. And
he has won here at the Balloon Fiesta in the past
as well. And he also has the distinction of having been Joe Hartzell's flight instructor. When Joe first got into the balloon, Steve was the one, I think, who was largely responsible for that and taught Joe to fly. So we have, Ruth has an interview down on the field with us, I think, as we watch Steve make his approach and more of the competitors getting in the air. So Ruth, take it away.
I have with me this morning Jim Regan from Kensington, Connecticut, flying that very lightweight experimental balloon. We were watching him pack it up. Jim picked up the balloon himself, the envelope, and just tossed it over to the side. Jim, how long have you been flying these experimentals?
Since the early 90s, about 91, 92.
And did you build this one?
Yes, I built this one in 98.
Wow. And it's holding up quite well for being a 10-year-old balloon.
Yeah, it doesn't get flown too much, only a couple times a year, so it's doing well.
And tell me about putting the Aurora basket underneath it. You were talking to me a little earlier about why you didn't use the collapsible experimental basket this year.
I like having the wicker undercarriage. It just gives you a little more stability and safety when the high wind landings and such. Like yesterday morning, we had a little bit of wind on landing, and having that wicker protection is just much nicer.
Yeah, it's a little less ouchy, I think. Where did you take off this morning, and what was your flight like today?
We took off in Corrales, just over the river. It was a quick flight, got up to altitude, moved over. I waited about 30 seconds too long to drop, but still got my marker in somewhere in the area, and we had a beautiful flight.
That's great. Thank you for joining us this morning, Jim. It's great to see you again.
Great to see you, Ruth.
Glenn?
That is my new favorite ballooning term, a little less ouchy.
So the racer right over the center of the field with the yellow, red, green, blue zigzags going up. That's Aaron Gebhardt stepping up two. And looked like a nice drop into the island area, or the shore area out there. I'm not sure which one is the island, which one is the shore. But looked like a nice drop in for Aaron from Indianola, Iowa. I should know this green one coming in. But,
I always think the same thing. I think I know that balloon, and then by the time I figure out who it is, they're already passed.
So,
like the one that's dropping in overhead now, the pink and yellow balloon with the blue stripes. Yeah, I know that balloon, but I can't bring it I can't bring the name or the pilot to fore.
And you know, there's only like 4,000 balloons registered in the United States. So,
yeah.
So I found that one. That's a Skytrek, the green one with black verticals and kind of little spikes in the black.
Oh, I thought you were saying you found the pink, yellow, and blue one.
I'm going.
No, okay. Well, I'll keep
going for the pink one.
Ooh, take my sunglasses off. They're a little dark now.
So Mike is going to be a little bit on the south end of the field here. Your pink and yellow one's going to miss the field to the east altogether.
Okay. Well, he's also going to get talked about because I'm not yet having any luck finding it. You're going to search through the app and find him quicker than I'm going to scroll through the program here and find him. Yep. I'll probably scroll past it.
Yep. Let's see. There he is right there.
Okay. Who is it then?
Is that Bubba Weiner?
Is that Bubba?
I think it is.
Okay.
I think it is. Hubba Bubba, the name of the balloon.
Yeah, that's why I know it, because he's part of the Dawn Patrol team.
Yeah.
Duh.
Yeah.
I knew that balloon. Oops. Oh, well. Like I say, you sit there thinking, I know that balloon, I know that balloon, I know that balloon, and then...
Well, yeah, as soon as I called it up, the name pops up. It's like, we know that one.
Of course that's Bubba. I know that,
that one.
He's in our Dawn Patrol show. We talk about him all the time in Dawn Patrol.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, got a little bit of the sniffles this morning. We were talking earlier today about basket designs, and this is this little balloon bouncing in or dropping in now is bouncing is not a good term. It's like ouchie. Dropping into the field. The teal with the chevrons of yellows, reds, pinks, purples, and blues is one of those Balloon Works or Barnes balloons with the triangular basket. You can see that clearly as he's over the center of the field now.
Number 5.
Wow, that must be one of the top finishers from last year then.
Rick Gossi.
Okay.
Goosey, sorry, Rick Goosey, TJ's Toy, Pleasant Hill, Missouri. Yep. Top 5 finisher last year. Here comes Sherry White in the Touchstone balloon.
In the Touchstone Energy balloon, yeah. She is, Sherry is the current, just re-elected actually, president of the Balloon Federation of America. She served this past year as president, and at the board meeting last Thursday was re-elected to the same role as president of the Balloon Federation of America. She is the lead corporate pilot, the CEO, I guess you would say, of that corporate program for Touchstone Energy. They have a fleet of 5, 6, 7 balloons that fly around the country for Touchstone Energy, and she is also a second generation in her family. Her father, Sam Edwards, a longtime balloonist, and I can't remember the relation, but I think now they just have their 4th generation pilot in Sam's granddaughter, I believe it is, just got her pilot's license.
Balloon dropping in over the field now with the vertical stripes of yellow, black, pink, and greenish teal would be Dale Lang from Tabor, Alberta, Canada. Watch and see what kind of target drop we get. They're leaning over. Looks like, yep, there goes the throw. And that would be, again, at the perspective from our angle, but it looks to be on one of the islands out there, which would be a good score.
It would indeed. Because we have what they call a limited scoring area this morning.
Yes.
The type of task that we're flying.
Within the white areas, which are either the islands or the shore, or on the boat. And on the boat, the best spot would be the very bow, the very pointy.
Yeah, it reminds me, we were talking about Steve Jones and Joe Hartzell earlier. I can remember years ago at the...
There's a great shot of Dale coming in.
Oh, yeah.
Look at that.
I was going to say, I could remember we ran a similar task. I don't remember if it was inspired by Sid's Adventures or not, but there was a Cadillac dealership that was a sponsor at Plano, Texas for a number of years. And we ran a task like this where there was a new convertible Cadillac parked on the target, and the best possible drop was to put the marker in the driver's seat of the car.
Oh, wow.
If you could get it there. And Steve Jones came in Steve in those days used to fly without uprights. There are certain models of balloons you can do that with. And he came in and at a bit of a too fast a deflation or a descent rate, and just pile drove his balloon right into the ground. The envelope came all the way down over the basket and touched the ground, and then obviously rebounded back up.
Yes.
Needless to say, Steve did not win the car that day, but yeah, it was a similar type task where the best possible score was to put your marker in the front seat of the Cadillac.
So that is indeed Sherry flying the Touchstone Energy balloon out there. And kind of watch for a drop. She may be, well, again, sometimes hard to see the perspective here. We'll watch and see what she does. We know you're out there, Ruth. We'll be there shortly.
Yeah, a lot of times Sherry's not flying that balloon because she and Mark Sullivan have been competing would be away in the America's Challenge gas balloon race, but as you've heard us say earlier this week, the America's Challenge gas balloon race not being held this year because the Gordon Bennett took place so
late
in September. It wrapped up just prior to the start of Fiesta, and it would have been impossible to get all of the international gas balloons and the pilots and crews shipped over here in time.
And some folks say, well, why didn't they do the Gordon Bennett earlier? And that's because they always tie that to the full moon.
Yeah, and so it was just a function of the calendar, I guess you could say, or
and nature. So
nature, yeah. Whatever.
So while we are waiting for the next kind of wave of competitors to make their way to the field here, let's go down on the field with Ruth Lynn.
Okay.
I am here this morning with Connie Thompson. Now, Connie has been called Sarge in her day, and that is a very affectionate, loving term from those of us for whom you have crewed over time. Connie is royalty in the world of crewing. She has the Master Crew Chief Award. Last year, she was voted BFA Crew Person of the Year. And part of the reason for all that is that you have so many pilots in your family to crew for.
Well, somebody's got to keep them in line. And I have a husband and 2 sons, and now a grandson in Iowa, all pilots.
I have a feeling that you were part of teaching them how to fly as well.
Well, I was a Master Crew Chief. I also chaired the Master Crew Chief Award a committee. And so I like to do things in a routine way, and I'm pretty organized.
Well, I remember when you were crewing for us in the gas balloons with, the different people I have flown with over time. Who needed a checklist? We have Connie.
Well, we were very fortunate, Jim and I, to be able to be involved in ballooning from day one. We started in '75, crewing for our son Jeff, who is in Florida. And now that we've retired our balloon, we're still crewing for Jeff.
Goodness, you're crewing for Jeff here. Were you crewing for your son John here as well?
Yes, this morning we went out and crewed for him and saw him off and off for the Rainbow Riders.
That's great. Do you have any one particular flight, either hot air or gas, that stands out for you as the most amazing crewing experience you ever had?
Gosh, that's hard to answer because in the years that we've been involved, crewing and being observers in Europe, there are so many stories to tell. And I am fortunate that Jim does a lot of documentation on all of the things that we have done, especially the things that we've done in Europe with the Gordon Bennett. And he keeps those in a notebook, and it's getting bigger every day.
Well, that's just wonderful. And Jim, if you're listening to us, I'm looking for that book to be coming out real soon. Back up to Glen and Art.
Thank you, Ruth. And Ruth, you'll recall some years ago when you were the editor and produced a rewrite of Balloon Digest. You were kind enough to ask me to write a chapter about that. And one of the things I wrote in the chapter I did in the book was about how important it is when you pack the balloon away. If you always pack it away in the same manner, put everything back in the same place, then you always know where it is when you go to inflate. There's nothing worse than getting your balloon out and trying to inflate. Go, well, where's this? Where's that? Where did that go last time? And that is a lesson in organization that I learned through the years with Connie and Jim Thompson. And Jim, of course, and I served on the BFA board of directors together. And yeah, they are royalty in the sport of ballooning. Thank you, Connie. Good to see you this morning. High overhead, I I was going to say my good friend Pat Harwell in his balloon Maverick, but he didn't drop in to score, so I didn't see if he threw a marker. If he did, he dropped it from very high. He did score yesterday, so I was quite surprised to see that he didn't try to make a descent down into the target zone, but maybe he dropped a marker from up high. We'll see. Many of the pilots are crossing over at quite some altitude, and back behind, as I look to my left shoulder here, I can make another reference to our good friends flying the Slanja balloon. This is the balloon that is patterned after the official New Mexico state tartan. And when I mentioned that yesterday and was telling Ruth that every state has a tartan, she admitted this morning she didn't really think I was telling the truth, but she looked it up and found that her great state of Maine does indeed have its own tartan. And so the New Mexico state tartan is green, blue, yellow, and red, and the balloon looks like they think our rooftop studio is a target because they're coming right down on top of us. And I hope they don't drop a marker. Actually, if you do, if you can put it in Art's chair, we'll give you a prize, but don't hit my chair. So,
hey, Brian has just showed up with one of those cameras that we talked about earlier, the Brian Griggs from Canon.
Oh, yeah? Cool.
So, the SX740HS with a 40x optical zoom here.
Outstanding. Okay, so we can take turns playing with that then.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh, look at this.
I had a little.
I'll let you be the first photo here.
Oh well, you're going to break the camera right off, huh?
Well, we'll put it to its test anyway.
Cool. I have had at one time a little Canon, what they call a super shot, the SS 110, and this obviously is a much more advanced version than
Got a nice fast zoom here, so I could zoom in on the floor decor balloon there.
Speaking of zooming in, here comes Richard Saban out of Henderson, Texas, in his racing balloon. It is multiple shades of blue, leading to white and black on the side, and he's dropping in from some altitude. And Art is over here taking pictures with that. You're going to have to post some of those on.
I will.
Onto the Balloon Fiesta Facebook page.
Now, I was just looking out to the west here a few moments ago. And I saw Meg Skelton in the yellow balloon with the dragon going around it. And I was sure that she was going to miss this field altogether. She was that far. So there's a little bit of direction back to the north showing up now.
Yeah.
But she's going to get to the field.
And I think that's what the Slanja balloon was trying to do, but they didn't get into the turn quickly enough. Same thing you see in this pink, yellow, and black balloon just out in front of us here now over the corporate tents. He's dropped down and is now taking that, what to the pilots would be a left-hand turn to get over to the target.
Yep.
But you're right, Meg is going to get in there. I think we see that happening now with some of the other balloons up at high altitude. There is the Friendship balloon from Ultra Magic, and there's a story about that balloon we'll tell you in a moment. So the winds have turned a bit. There's an upper level wind that's bringing them further to the southeast, and then as they drop down, there's more of a turn that's now from the south. Let me get my directions right. North, south, the east, from the southwest, going to the northeast, cutting diagonally across the field. And that's what Meg is riding in her balloon with the dragon and the funny name that I never can remember on it.
I always have to look that one up, too.
That's Meg's banner number 196. And
Maharani.
Maharani, that's it. I was going to say Maharaji, and I knew that wasn't right.
You were close.
That was close. I had the Maha part right.
Yeah.
I was halfway there. Meg quickly has represented the United States at the Women's World's Championships and flew in the Women's Nationals we had here, what was it, a year or two ago now?
Yeah. They're all running together.
I can tell she's a competitor because I can see not only Meg in the basket, but I can see the laptop and the GPS and her all of her instrumentation. You and I, of course, probably never flew with that. I used to fly with just a compass and an altimeter, and nowadays our competitors fly with multiple laptops, moving map images, GPSs. There goes Meg's throw. Let me watch the marker as it comes down.
I didn't even have crew radios or aircraft radios when I was flying.
Well, it was late before I had aircraft radios. I think when I started, we used CB radios. If anybody remembers those, Citizens Bands radios. Here comes the Friendship balloon dropping in. I wanted to share the story with you about that. This is a balloon constructed by Ultra Magic Balloons, and there's a great shot of it on the video screen. they built this balloon and then turned it over to pilots all around the world. It traveled literally around the world. There is a feature on the about the balloon in the current issue of Ballooning Magazine, which you can get if you are a member or if you join the Balloon Federation of America. And each pilot would make a flight in the balloon and then hand it off to another pilot who would fly it and then pass it on to another pilot. And he told two friends and he told two friends, etc. And the balloon literally traveled around the world. And during the course of that, funds were raised to help build a new school in a village in Africa. The owners of Ultra Magic Balloons have strong ties to the sport of ballooning and the continent of Africa, and so there is a brand new school. I don't have the article in front of me to tell you the name of it, but brand new school in a village in Africa that was built by funds raised as this balloon flew around the world under the direction of a great many balloon pilots. I was actually scheduled to get a flight in the balloon, and weather circumstances and the locations didn't work out, and I wasn't able to get to do so. But it's a really unique ballooning project that Ultra Magic undertook.
Balloon with the black and white checkerboards around the red and the yellow is the American Racer with Sandy Graff.
Sandy Graff flying that, yep. Sandy, another of the many, many balloonists that are here from Texas.
Flower Mound. I have been to Flower Mound.
Have you?
I have. I've done a number of training sessions there.
Oh, for
at
Apple?
The school. Yes, for some of the schools in Flower Mound. Used to do some nice summer-long training camps until we got everybody in the school district and the neighboring school district up to speed.
Now, is Maury Petrin registered this year?
I was just wondering.
I think that's his balloon, isn't it? This white.
That's what I was thinking.
Multicolored racer that's falling in.
It is.
Maury is brother, one of the Petrin family. Johnny Petrin flying the Canon balloon. Paul Petrin flying the Phillips 66 balloon here this year, and Maury flying his racer. They have, I'll forget, I know there's also brother Andy who flies. Both of their late sisters, Cindy and Becky, were balloon pilots. Their father, John Petrin, was one of the first to ever attempt an around-the-world balloon flight. So they are one of the sport's flying royalties. There are both of the EOS balloons. I think one of them has a different name now.
Yes.
But I see them both up high in the sky, separated by a little bit of distance.
So version 3 is still out to the west. Straight up would be version 2. And Ralph Kaiser flies the third version. Actually, he flew the second one. Sold it off to, I think, a former crew member.
This, just looking at the Facebook feed, going to check into some of the comments. This must be from a pilot or a crew person who says, I can't believe we were so close yet missed it. So they're either referring to the target or maybe they're referring to the event. I'm not sure.
Could be.
Yeah, typically when we miss it, we always say the left went away. And
or my story was somebody bumped me out of the way.
Yeah, I had that happen too. Cindy Ranquist says, wish I was there instead. I am in rainy Nebraska. Well, sorry about that, Cindy. Hope the weather gets better for you up there. John Esserman commented here, said, my first year there as a pilot was in 1978.
Wow.
John, you're dating yourself there, my friend. Be careful about that. S.J. Potter watching from Tennessee.
So Maury,
any relation to Harry, S.J.? Just curious.
We talked about Maury Petrin dropping in. He's now over the target area. I'm reminded, since he's flying banner number 1, that he was our overall winner last year.
That's right. Oh, there's a couple of comments here. We're talking about the uniqueness of the dropping the marker on the bow of the SS Cutter. Some folks online are remembering when, for I think it was a year or two, where we had a chimney out on the field, and one lucky pilot put his marker down the chimney and won the keys to a brand new house here in Albuquerque. Remember that?
Yes, I do. And Maury just put his marker into the boat.
Did he? Maury got the boat.
Maury got into the boat.
Outstanding. Well, he
not
might be
on the bow, but that's still
that's
better.
Next best. He might be carrying banner number 1 again next year. Then we'll have to see how the week plays out. Here's a nice comment from Christy Ferguson. says, great camera work, announcers for the benefit of the live feed viewers as opposed to those on site. There's a
big cheer going up for Moyer as we've got him there.
Christy just reminding us that we are talking to two audiences. We're talking to the audience of spectators here at the field who can see everything, and then we're also talking to, of course, the live feed. She's asking or reminding, try to be sure that we're describing which is which, just so, because sometimes we're talking about things that the people on the feed can't see. And thank you, Christy, and we're aware of that, and it is a bit tricky for us to keep in mind that we are talking to two different audiences at the same time. We're describing the events happening on site for the over a PA system for the crowd here. We're also, of course, the announcers for the live feed, and so sometimes we are talking about things that you're not seeing on the feed. We're trying to, with our production crew, we try to coordinate the visuals and the announcing as best we can, but sometimes it's just not possible to coordinate that completely, fully. So, but thank you for the reminder, and we are cognizant of that, and we're trying to do the best that we possibly can.
So I'm actually kind of hoping that since Moyer Petrin, who just dropped his marker into the boat there, which should put him in the lead, landed right off in the target flagging area there, and actually heard our reporter Kim Vesley out there nearby as the cheer from the crowd went up there. Maybe we'll see if we can't get Moyer on board here to tell us how he did it. Let all those folks that are still up in the air and see if they can figure, maybe he'll reveal some trade secrets.
I doubt it, but maybe Kim can get with him and
see what happens there.
See what intel he chooses to share with us. And Christy, part of the reason why I'm sometimes perhaps not talking about what's on the screen is at this hour of the day, I just almost can't see the screen. The sunlight comes up and our monitors are not quite as visible to us as they were when it was a little bit darker. So
Rich is asking if anyone has dropped on the boat. Of course, we just talked about Moyer Petrin getting onto the boat.
Has dropped on the boat, yep.
Thanks, Tom. We appreciate your comment. We'll certainly make sure Ruth knows that you enjoy her work as well. Really happy with the entire production team and all the folks that are working our cameras and our audio and getting the pictures for us down in the trailer, and all the engineering work that went on to make this look just fabulous this year. It's been a pleasure to work with this entire team to bring them together.
We had just had a great comment saying you guys are doing great, love the feed and learning so much about ballooning. We appreciate that. And you might want to touch on this, Art. Let's see if I lift the phone up where I can read it closer to me. Marianne, is that Tay, I think, is asking, where can I get an official pin?
An official pin? If you're here in Albuquerque, you can go to the gift shop at the Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta office. You can get them at the merchandise tents here on the field. And if you're not in town, on balloonfiesta.com, there is a tab along the top that says merchandise, and you can order your official merchandise online as well. Again, that's balloonfiesta.com.
Quite possibly the same place where you're watching the live feed from.
Could be, because we're streaming our YouTube feed directly from there. On that page, there's also a link to the Facebook feed as well. And we certainly appreciate everyone tuning in, watching, making your comments, and of course sharing it out to the rest of the world as well.
And don't forget, if you are taking photographs, if you're here on the field, and posting pictures on social media, as Brian told us earlier, remember to tag your photos with Canon in the clouds, and you might find yourself having your picture shared on some of the Canon social media sites as well.
Mostly green balloon with the rainbow colors going around the equator. That's going to be Jeff Bennett.
That's Jeff Bennett, yep.
Baby Bear.
And that is the original balloon of Dale Wong, who now flies a racer of the same color pattern. It looks like, is Jeff's going to tag the ground down there, or is he going to round out?
Ooh, it's going to be close. He's leaning over with his marker. He did not, just set the marker right on the target,
it looked like.
One of those islands out there, yep. Right into the blue scoring area. Now
And
the blue one
did hit the ground. Yep. So that'll be ground contact penalty points. So nicely done, Jeff Bennett, who says, I never remember that he's flying, but I do, even though he did not bring me any Biscoff cookies this year. Someone told him, misinformed him that I don't like them anymore.
Colleen Johnson in the blue one, who's landed in the flagged area there. Mary Alice in Wonderland.
Okay, now banner number 97. Is that Steve Jones or that's Dick Goss maybe? Because we saw Steve come by earlier.
That's Dick.
So that is Dick Goss in the yellow-topped balloon with the orange checkerboard that fades around the bottom of the balloon. Steve Jones flies a smaller racing balloon, looks just identical to it. That's why I was asking which was which.
So this one is Dick. Because as you said, Steve came over. Let's take a watch and see what happens here.
That's cool. We have some guests who have popped up on the side of the field here, the side of our, not the field, but the tower. Oh, is this your balloon? Okay, come over here and talk to us about this. Are these both yours? Oh, outstanding. We have a couple of the Special Shapes pilots here with us. Steve down in the truck, if you'll bring the hand mic up, I'm going to spin around here and do a quick interview. Two of the Special Shapes, one that Art and I have been completely confused about. You can take Art's chair while he stepped away for a moment. One that we're completely confused about is the saxophone balloon. We were quite confused as we first saw it. First of all, introduce yourself and where you're from.
I'm from Brazil. My name is Luis Assis. This year, my 15th time here.
15th year here?
Yeah.
Okay,
right.
So, you have your 15-year patch. And so you brought us two Special Shapes, the saxophone and Bidou balloon, which is in flying right through our screen here. The little blue dog. Tell me the story about that. How did that come to be?
Yeah, the blue dog is a cartoon from Brazil. The very popular cartoon.
Yeah.
Brazil.
And so, is there anything special about the color blue? Obviously, it's a character, so this wasn't your original creation.
No, the guy, the creation, the Bidou, his name is Mauricio from Brazil.
Okay.
He's like Walt Disney here. He's a very popular cartoonist in Brazil.
I see.
And I make the balloon for him.
For him?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then the saxophone, that is just the funkiest looking balloon I've seen in a long time. What was the inspiration behind that?
The saxophone, my creation.
Was it your original creation?
Yes,
yeah.
original.
Now, do you play saxophone? Are you a musician or anything?
No. I have some guys, some friends, they play music, and I make a tribute for her.
Okay. And what's the reaction to those two shapes been by the spectators so far that have seen it?
Yeah, it's good reactions.
Yeah? Yeah. Is there anything particularly more difficult about flying a Special Shape? Now, are you flying one of the two or both?
Yeah, my son fly the saxophone. I fly Bidou this year.
You fly Bidou?
Yeah.
Okay. So what's it like flying a dog? I mean, is there anything special, especially more difficult, a little different than flying a standard round balloon?
Yeah, a little bit because the appendices, but I have a turn vent for landing. It's good. No problem. No problem for flying.
Yeah, and what's been the reaction when you fly out into a neighborhood and land? Do other dogs bark at Bidou, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I suspect that it's a big favorite with kids when you land out into the neighborhoods. Yeah.
I believe because they're very, very cute, right? The big eyes, the smart.
Yeah, and he's a bright blue, so he's not easily hidden out in the neighborhoods. He's easy to see, I'm sure.
Yes.
So, are you looking forward to the Special Shapes Rodeo coming up later this week? You'll be one of about 100 shapes then flying. So, is it a little different when you're surrounded by that many character balloons?
Yeah, like I don't, you know.
Repeat the question real quick.
I was just saying, is it a little bit different for you as when you find yourself surrounded by all the Special Shapes, all the character balloons, than in a field of just round balloons?
It's different because you've got other characters, so each character has its own personality, as you know about flying.
Right.
In a weather vane, or you can't vent because it kind of goes with the wind. And if you have light conditions and you're doing like some of the competitors today, you just want to keep your ascents and descents about 100. That way you don't have any major distortion in, or back in the days when Drew Rosnowski had the famous footwear shoe,
Right.
it used to kind of go back on its heel.
Yeah.
So a lot of the shapes, it just depends on the design. Be-Do is very stable. You have the little legs just kind of fluff a little bit, not quite as bad as the Klondike polar bear in the days, or when I had the rail vac, it used to column pretty good, kind of like the guys with the racers.
Yeah.
So it just depends on the aerodynamics, and that's what Luis specializes in, is being able to design these so they're not so hard to either pack up or deflate. They're very, very easy once the crew gets associated to the process.
Right. Well, and I just noted, Luis, when you mentioned the legs of the polar bear, I had the chance to fly the bear one time, and they actually were lower. And we were talking about Arabelle the cow. Those legs are actually lower than the basket, so they actually touched the ground first. And I know the time I flew the polar bear, they drug across the ground and made this kind of a sound, and I thought I had a propane. It scared what out of me the very first time I did that. But I just checked, looking at the trading card that you have here, and in this case, the basket is on the ground and the legs are still in the air, so you don't have that.
Yeah, this is good for when landing, no problem, because sometimes the leg is too large. Touch the ground.
Touch the ground first, right?
Yesterday I flew over the river. I make a splashing dash, 1 minute in the water, like a boat.
Yeah. Now, did you get deep enough so that the feet touched, that Be-Do's feet got wet?
No, that's the basket.
Just the basket.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
So, how many special shapes have you designed and built in, Luis?
I designed and built in dozen. My first time here in 2004, I bring the mushroom. Then I make the pig, crab, shark, Cosmos One, heart.
Right.
Heart. Elvis balloon.
Elvis is not in the building this year with us.
No, not here, but I building this. Lots. The Neptuno, seahorse, the pelican, frog.
My goodness.
Yes.
So you're quite a creative genius and an illustrator, not an illustrator perhaps, but certainly a creative genius in your own right.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, thanks for coming up, and we look forward to seeing Be-Do, the little blue dog, as well as the saxophone, and many of your other creations I'm sure we'll see throughout Special Shapes Rodeos this week.
I'm very happy every year that I come here, because the best festival, the more festival around the world. I'm very proud to stay here for the festival.
Well, we're thrilled to have you each year for Balloon Fiesta. Thanks for bringing us all of these amazing creations. Ladies and gentlemen, the pilot of Be-Do Balloon, the little blue dog that we've seen already a couple of times and we'll see again throughout the day, brought to us all the way up from Brazil, from Luis Paula. So thank you, Luis, for coming up and saying hello. Appreciate it. Good to see you, sir. Take care. So, while we've been doing that, our competition has continued on. Look at Bill Adler all of a sudden out there. He looks to be a little north of the balloon, of the boat, not the balloon. I may be a little late to see. A marker just came streaming down out of the sky right in front of him. And Bill may already have dropped his marker. It looks like he's just skimming along, probably heading to a landing there. Bill out of Longview, Texas, flies the balloon called Bill's Turn. That is the balloon that is the broad stripes of green, yellow, red, and blue, just inching his way. Boy, the wind has certainly slowed down, at least on the surface. There's just almost no movement at all down there.
So I heard you say that the wind is slowed down here.
Well, yeah, because, look out on the field. The balloons are just barely moving.
I was just going to relay that I've just heard over the weather officials' radio as well. We talked about that corner out there by Bernalillo and Rio Rancho where it was about 10 knots out there. It has dropped down out there as well. So it's kind of calming down everywhere was where I was headed with that.
I'm just curious, how much time do we have? We still have half an hour?
Half an hour or so
goodness.
on the, yep.
And we do still have balloons off in the distance that are presumably trying to work their way here. So that would be an indication that we do still have some. I think that's a shot of Bill right there. Or is that? Is that Bill with the Texas flag on the on the crown line coming in for landing. I couldn't quite make it out.
Yeah, Bill Stern. Yep, Bill Adler.
Bill Adler. Yep.
I love being able to get the shots of the banners so we can figure out who they are. That's a really easy search.
And I think is that Craig Hayes that's coming across the target area now, across the field?
It is.
In the blue balloon with the yellow diamond slashes in it?
We see the banner number on the screen,
number
104.
Yep,
that is Craig.
Caught a look at it through our Canon binoculars.
Was he just winding up? He's way far south of the target.
He's way, yeah.
Maybe they were just waving at the launch directors. As is passenger waving, actually.
Oh, okay.
And we have we have 2 launch directors and 2 zits down there to catch him.
Oh, well, good. At least they'll have plenty of crew on hand.
Yep. The ones in the red hats are the zits, zebras in training.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize they had special hats. Well, yeah, you did tell me that.
I told you that, yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Just memory lapse there.
There you go.
Some of the balloons still working their way here. Hey, there's Mark Sullivan way up high in the red balloon with the black, white, red, and yellow spiral around it. Mark is Sherry Edwards-White's co-pilot in gas ballooning when they're competing in long-distance gas races like they just did over in Europe in the Gordon Bennett. And we talked about this balloon yesterday. Did we ever figure out who that was? I was saying I thought it was Steve Lombardi, and it was not Steve. When I say this balloon, that's not being very descriptive, is it? The rainbow-colored balloon that was just on the screen, on the video screen.
With the black and white spiral going up.
Yeah.
Chris Cliver.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Bubba Cliver.
Bubba, yep.
Yeah.
Happy hour balloon.
Or actually, no, Chris is Bubba's
son.
Right. Yeah,
yeah.
It's not Bubba, it's his son.
So.
And that is, now this is the balloon called Mariah that's dropping in now. Black balloon with the Indian bear fetishes around the side of the balloon, sky blue band around the balloon. There's another picture of Chris Cliver on the screen right now. Again, that rainbow colored balloon with the black and white spiral. And he's well beyond the target, probably might try to make a descent into land here on the edge of the field. But I wouldn't absolutely swear to that. He may be a little too far.
Well, it's gotten so calm that it's almost like, how are you going to get here? There's nothing.
Yeah,
there's no clear direction anymore to work your way in.
There's still I was looking at Chris's balloon, and there's still just enough movement that I think by the time he descends to where he could land, he'll be out beyond the Main Street and Vendor Row there. So I don't think he'll make a
But you know, one of the strategies here is you get up and you have a game plan for how to get here, you still go to school on everyone else.
Yeah.
Who's going what direction at what altitude, and everybody's just kind of stopped in the air.
Well,
there's very little movement up there at the moment.
I was going to say, I think the reason for that is, if you notice what's happened, there's been a pretty significant cloud cover has now moved over the entire area. As we started out this morning, there were clouds over along the Sandias, but we were generally in a clear area, and now we have a really heavy, thick, high-altitude cloud layer
all around us.
All around us, and typically what happens, that's kind of like putting a blanket over yourself, and it keeps things a little warmer, but it also can keep any of the upper winds where there might have been a little more speed, it keeps them now from coming down, and so yeah, things have calmed down quite considerably. But yeah, I've just noticed, that is a pretty extensive cloud cover that's all the way from the other side of the Sandias, east of there, all the way out west over the mesa.
With no balloons coming in close to the target area, we just had a great shot of the SS Cutter out there.
Yep.
Seeing the bow and one of our scoring officials out there as well.
There's a shot of the new balloon Guilty that we've talked about on the screen. That is the yellow balloon with the black mustache.
Zarek Wells.
That is Zarek Wells, and we had an interview yesterday, I think Kim it was, that talked to his partner, Karen?
Karen.
Yep, Karen is the president of the Quad A, the Albuquerque Aerostat Ascension Association. I'm always proud of myself when I get that out properly.
That could be a tough one.
The world's largest regional or local balloon club, depending on your perspective. And Zarek is the club newsletter editor. And this is the first of what will be a pair of balloons. We were joking yesterday that this one is guilty, and we don't know yet the design of Karen's, but it will be called Innocent. And I was suggesting, well, then we could get Chief Justice Judy Nakamura to fly with them, and we could have the judge in the middle and have guilty or innocent on either side.
Well, I think we might be a year or so away from getting Innocent up. I don't know what the exact situation is, but Judy.
I don't think Judy's going anywhere anytime soon.
No,
so
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
You know, it was kind of funny. I was preparing our spotter app here.
Yep.
And I noticed that the balloon they used to fly, the Wells used to fly one called Monkey C, and Zarek provided biographical information, and he starts talking about this balloon called Guilty. And I'm saying, I'm confused. What happened to Monkey C if you're flying this thing on Guilty? And Karen responded and said, well, the deal here is that Monkey did not pass its annual inspection.
Ah, okay.
And so therefore they went ahead and ordered this, and I had advance notice of the story of what was going on here.
Okay.
I was sworn to secrecy because Guilty actually arrived in Albuquerque on Wednesday of last week, so it has actually only been in town for 5 days.
Wow.
They inflated it on, I believe, Thursday for the very first time, and Zarek was over the target, had a decent score yesterday, and he's definitely over the area. Whether he can drop in and get a good score again today is still yet to be seen.
Well, Zarek, like Jonathan Wright, we were talking about earlier, is rocking a Mohawk do, or at least he was when I saw him Sunday at the BFA's annual general membership meeting, and so we'll see if that Mohawk gets him anywhere close to the field. And down below Zarek, a little bit lower in the sky, is another of one of my favorite racing balloons, and that is the musically patterned balloon of Mike and Betty Ballins that has the piano keyboard around the bottom of the bottom third of the balloon, and then the musical staff, the musical notes around. There you see it on screen, the musical notes around the equator of the balloon. And I need to go track Mike and Betty down because we've still been trying to find out when they roll that around on the balloon on the ground, does it play a tune or not, kind of like a player piano?
We need to go.
So Mike is trying to work his way.
We need to go find him and find that out.
Yeah, I need to find Mike and Betty.
Or maybe if you lay it out and you dance across it plays?
Maybe like in the movie Big. You
can
can
hop through there.
Maybe that works.
Yeah. So.
Hey.
Dr. Tom McConnell is here.
Joined us here. He's going to scoot off.
Don't run away.
Yeah,
don't run away. Step in here, sir. So, how's things going for you? Dr. Tom McConnell, the one of the originals on the Zia balloon, and certainly a member of the board of directors here as well.
A longtime board member, and all around pretty darn nice guy usually.
Yeah.
Antique balloonist.
Antique balloonist, I like that.
Yes, things are going great. I was almost positive we weren't going to fly this morning. What a pleasant surprise.
And so
to
calm
see us
now.
flying,
and you
my
know,
son Tom had a fabulous flight with the secretary, and it just turned out great.
Oh, that's right. The Secretary of Education was flying with your son today. Did he get an education?
Yes, and he's so excited he's going to do an interview with somebody down here.
We're sending him down to talk to Ruth down there. So we're going to get the pre-story up here and then the real story down there.
So hopefully there'll be a pop test for him to see if he can pass when he gets down there with Ruth.
Yes, and he had an initiation, of course. And he has a meeting with the governor this afternoon, and so we suggested he might want to take a shower before he has a meeting with the governor.
So the governor, a great supporter of Balloon Fiesta as well here.
Yes,
Usually
she
out
is.
here a couple of times as well. So
yes, I've had the pleasure of meeting the governor, and she's always a great supporter of Fiesta. In fact, one year she had an entire entourage here on the rooftop studio with us, and back when it was the super secret announce tower. So, we had all kinds of security people and guests, and it was like our own private political party. We had our own little convention up here that year.
There you go.
Well, you guys, I'm going to go back down, but you guys are doing a great job as usual, and thank you for all that you do. You announcers let us know what's going on.
Thanks,
and
Tom.
most of what you tell us is actually true.
We learn from the best. Dr. Tom McConnell.
Tom McConnell, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
He's
on the board of directors, always a great guy.
And quite an author and writer. He's been a contributor of a number. He's written 2 great books about safety in the sport of ballooning, and always donates a number of copies to the BFA for us to sell. And yeah, he's going to be writing an article for me coming up very soon in Ballooning about a very special project he's involved with. So
he is also a member of the Heritage Committee. Kim
He is.
interviewed Charlotte Kinney, who was the Heritage Winner Award honoree this year.
This year, right.
And Dr. Tom is part of that Heritage Committee. They are already hard at work on a coffee table type book for the 50th Balloon Fiesta coming up in 2021.
Wow. I look forward to that. And speaking of the Secretary of Education for the state of New Mexico, Ruth Lind has she now has a pop test to administer, I hope. So, Ruth, go right ahead.
A pop test, yes. I have with me Christopher Raskowski, who is the Secretary of Education for the state of New Mexico. Christopher took his first balloon ride this morning. How did it go?
It was totally magical, and Dr. McConnell and the whole family were nice enough to bring me up, and it was just absolutely incredible. It felt like I was floating off the ground, which I was, and for someone who's been here for 3 years and just been traveling the state, visiting schools and being in classrooms, it was just great to take a morning and be a part of the Fiesta.
Now, I'm sure you know about Fiesta Aloft that happens the Friday before Fiesta starts. Is your office involved with that when all of the pilots go out to the schools in the Albuquerque area?
Yeah, so we coordinate with the Department of Tourism and all the school districts, and it's been a great opportunity for our kids. You know, the governor and I have a chance to come out here last year and have some kids go up that win the reading challenge that read a lot of books during the summer, and one of the grand prizes is getting the opportunity to go up in a balloon as well. So a lot of interconnectiveness with our schools and with the Fiesta.
It's so terrific when you can take something that a region is known for, bring that into the schoolroom, and have education be about real life.
Well, absolutely. I mean, there's science and math happening here, that's for sure. And Dr. McConnell and I had a chance to talk a little bit about some of the case studies that he's written, some of the teaching that he does. There's certainly a lot to learn here. You may not know that his daughter, Susan McConnell, runs a charter school, North Valley Academy, which is a school that we had a big celebration at this summer because our kids are doing so well, both at her school and schools around the state. So lots of interconnectivity between what our kids can learn and what's happening out here.
It sure is, and I'm guessing that after today we can see a lot more ballooning in education in the state of New Mexico. Thank you, Christopher. Back upstairs to you, Glenn.
Thank you, Ruth, and thanks to Christopher. And we should mention, too, Art, that another institution that really is involved in education, particularly in STEM subjects, using ballooning as the basis of the education, is the Albuquerque Balloon Museum, the Anderson Abruzzo Albuquerque International Balloon Museum, directly behind us here at the south end of Balloon Fiesta Park. I know they have literally thousands of school kids that come through the museum on various field trips throughout the year, learning various, as we said, seeing various exhibits and learning various lessons related to STEM subjects. I know particularly the new weather lab that's over there has been something that has been a great educational tool for kids. So it's interesting, as Ruth said, that Albuquerque is so successful in taking ballooning, something that is so well known here as a tourism type thing, but also using it for the benefit of education of young people year round.
Well, I've been working with some schools in the Los Lunas area, which is a little town just about 30 miles south of Albuquerque here. They've been involved with the entire Connect Ed project, which was a project to bring technology and the internet connectivity into schools all across the country. And about 3 schools in Los Lunas were selected for that project, and they've been working with Apple Computer and folks, and thus my involvement down there. They're actually bringing 4 bus loads of students out to Balloon Fiesta tomorrow. They've been listening to our feeds and checking on things. And preparing how they're going to be able to tell the story of ballooning and connect it back to their community. And then on Thursday, we're going to have a group of those students from that area who are going to be producing material. So whether it's books or videos, but electronic materials to be able to share the story that way. And you mentioned the museum. They've already got a connection with the museum. They're going to have a conversation with Savannah Bradley over there, who's, as we talked yesterday, very involved in high-tech education. She's a college student herself now at New Mexico Tech.
Looking at a career in essentially aeronautical engineering.
Exactly.
Mechanical engineering with an aviation emphasis, obviously.
And with the ultimate goal that maybe some of these 5th graders who are coming on Wednesday and Thursday from Los Lunas can start to create learning materials and exhibits that would end up in the Balloon Museum.
Yeah.
So looking long range, even from elementary school, how do we get kids involved in the sciences and the arts and all of the making education relevant, not only immediately for them now, but for down the line and for paying back for the next generations.
Absolutely, and who knows what benefits the sport of ballooning might see as a result of that. We were talking about throughout the week how different pilots have used ballooning to touch different to touch the lives of young people, and you never know. Just the act, as we had one pilot just the other day, I think his name was Sean, was allowing kids to climb into the basket and take pictures. You never know how that one moment's involvement or hands-on experience in ballooning might spark a child's imagination, and no telling. You know, there's the thing we always say here in the United States: any kid can grow up to be the next president. Well, it could be that, you know, one of those kids grows up to be the next Ed Yost or the next Per Lindstrand or someone like that, who's a real pioneer in this sport and brings a whole new technology and design and capability to the sport that we cannot even imagine today. Looking back to our Facebook feed, just to change courses here real quickly, one of the comments a few minutes ago was from an R.J. Fernandez who said, "Where is Pico? I need a little Pico in my life." R.J., you got to get up early, buddy, because Pico was on our feed early this morning. It was one of the original balloons one of the first balloons to inflate and fly away. We had a nice shot of it inflating and flying off the field, so set the alarm a little earlier tomorrow or later this week if you want to see Pico. But Pico is here, and then yesterday we had an interview with the pilot, actually, of Pico. So
So go back and watch the archive versions
go back and
of
watch
those
the
as
archive
well.
versions, or after we're done, you could go back and watch this morning's show a little bit later today once it's archived, and you'll see Pico. But otherwise, just set the alarm a bit earlier and get up and join us a little earlier next time, RJ.
That would take care of that. Looks like in the basket there, they're taking pictures up inside the, so the passengers taking pictures up. Someone else looks to be hanging out to see if they can see where the target is. I think we're watching that one over there.
I was just, for a moment there, I thought I was looking right directly to the north of us over the top of the 7 little tents where the chainsaw carving demonstrations and contests are going on, and I thought, wow, that's a weird shaped balloon. What is that? It's actually Mike Bowens in their musical piano balloon. I forget the name of it. And there was another balloon just behind it, but they were perfectly lined up so that it looked like Mike's racer suddenly had a mushroom top to it. And I thought, I haven't seen that balloon before. And then I realized I was looking at 2 balloons.
2 together.
That were, just simply directly aligned together. It was just one of those moments in time when they were exactly in the right position together. So Zarek Wells did not, despite rocking the hairdo, the mohawk, did not make it into the scoring area. He's now over east and south of the field, probably out over about I-25 and Tramway right about now.
But he flew over, so wife Karen, who's the launch director, could look up and wave.
Yeah. And I'm not dissing him because many of my flights out here, that's about as close as I ever got to the target. So
Betty's Baby Grand. That's
Betty's
the name
Baby
of Mike's
Grand.
balloon we were talking about. Yeah, we're going to remember that one of these days.
One of these days.
We will remember that.
I should remember that, obviously, because Betty is Mike's wife.
Sure.
And so Betty's
it's a
Baby Grand.
Yeah.
It's a Baby Grand piano. Cool.
Yeah. One of these days we'll remember that. Probably about Saturday.
Probably, yeah. About the time we say goodbye Sunday, we'll have it down just perfectly. Hey, yesterday I was talking about I was a little late arriving yesterday morning because I'd been up late the night before watching the premiere of the new Doctor Who program. And so yesterday after flying, I went over and took a trip up and down Main Street to kind of see who all was there, some of the vendors, chat with some friends. I saw Gennaro, my friend over at Canon Balloons, and stopped and chatted with he and Brian.
I saw he stopped here and waved goodbye. I didn't get a chance to actually meet him. I've just been doing...
I'm sorry, I forgot you wanted to meet him. I would have been happy to introduce you. He's Gennaro is
Canon will be back, and I'm sure Gennaro will.
He'll be back. And he works in the essentially media relations. Canon supplies camera gear not only to the official photographers here at Balloon Fiesta, but they outfit. If you're a photographer and you're covering events like the Super Bowl or Wimbledon or whatever, they supply camera gear to events.
Pro Services, I think,
Pro
might
Services
be the
more than media
official
relations.
title. Yeah.
But anyway, stopped by to see them yesterday, and so Gennaro's flying out today. He came up to say hello, or say goodbye, actually, just before he had to take off. And but while I was up and down the Main Street yesterday, I stopped over and saw my friend Bela at Arizona Tube Art, which is, I've been talking about them all week because I absolutely love their product and the story behind it. But they heard me talking about Doctor Who, and Arizona Tube Art, they take pipe that's highly polished in a variety of different colors, and they're turned into, I call them night lights, or you can call them candle holders, whatever. You can put an LED candle down inside of them, and they're brilliant. And their booth is, they have a darkened area in their tent where you can go back and see how they look at night. Anyway, they heard me talking on the feed about having watched Doctor Who, and said, look what we have. And they came out and they had one of these that's laser engraved, and it had Doctor Who on one side, and it had the TARDIS, which Doctor Who fans will know and understand, on the other side. Again, but I'm not going to go spend $300 there this year. I did that a year ago to take care of all the Christmas shopping for my family. Doug and Patty Grimes, had a chance to talk with them at Discover Ballooning. Phil Whittington is here with Montgolfier Gifts. That's where you can find the official DVD and coffee table book of Andrew Hawley's Fly Every State World Record Project. They're on special sale here. Saw our friend Diane Carlson at Plano Pen Company, who's the official pen provider to Balloon
She was
Fiesta.
actually in the tent as opposed to in her walking on air balloon?
Yeah, and I told her, I said, I wanted to make sure she was okay, because I said, you haven't been, bombarding me with all this information about special pens. They usually have some very unique new special
for the
things
special
going
shapes
on.
And things, yeah.
And I said, I just had to make sure you're okay, because I hadn't heard from you this year at Fiesta. And she's doing fine, and they do have some special pens over there, so you can stop and see them. So, yeah, Vendor
I think she's
Row.
been doing a little more balloon flying.
Well,
recently. She was in Colorado Springs over Labor Day with us.
Yeah.
Ran into her somewhere else.
She's enjoying the good life, and yesterday was...
since she has such a great staff and design.
Yeah, and I think I have it right that yesterday was her daughter Britt Lee's birthday, so happy birthday to Britt Lee, a little bit late.
Well, and we went to Diane and her team there and said, we Balloon Fiesta Live, we're really an official thing here, not just the pilot project like last year. And so we wanted to make a pin, and I said, and I want the pin to be something we can use as a logo for the show.
Right.
And so the Balloon Fiesta Live logo that you see is our pin.
Yep.
And so we've designed it to be able to work in both scenarios there. And so they've done a great job of putting the logo together for us, which we've then animated as part of our show open here. So it will be our brand, thanks to Diane Carlson and
if
her
you're
folks
into
at
pin
Planet.
collecting, the Balloon Fiesta Live pin, this is the first year ever for it, and so it
better
should
get
be
it.
highly collectible. And if you can track down myself or Art, Ruth or Kim or any of the production team, we all have a minimal supply, limited supply of them, but. If you're into, and they had pin trading day a couple of days ago, but
we'll have another one coming up on Saturday.
Later in the week. So
on Saturday,
if you bump into any one of us and you haven't got a Balloon Fiesta Live pin, you might want to check that out.
They were supposed to put some for sale in the merchandise tents. I have not been over to verify that, but we're supposed to have some over there as well.
And Diane and I go way, way back. Diane and I met back in, 1980.
There you go, dating yourself again.
I know, 1984, I think, because at that time Diane was head of the League of Women Voters in Plano, Texas, and I was the vice chairman of the Plano Balloon Festival that year, along with my very good friend Charmian Gagnon. And Diane came to us with the idea that we both held events. The League of Women Voters had an arts and crafts fair, and we had the Balloon Festival, and we used the same city park. But Diane came to us with the idea of let's put the two events together, and it created what is now one of the top and best known balloon events in the state of Texas there in Plano. So she and I go way, way back, and when I started coming out here and being the announcer beginning in 1990, Diane has worked with me to create what used to be announcer pins long before they ever became official.
Right.
And eventually we've worked with Fiesta and gotten to the point where we've been recognized as official announcers, and so now our Balloon Fiesta pins are part of the official pin sets that you can get from Balloon Fiesta. But so I've been working with Diane on pins for a long, long time. She designed or produced, I think, actually it was Kevin Callback who owned the company before Diane bought it from him.
So Chris Liberty is drop his balloon set his balloon down on the north end of the field here. He was there just about 5 minutes ago.
Oh.
Looked like he was trying to work into the target there. I don't know if he actually landed before, but then it was like, oh, next thing you know, he's going up, and it looked like he was going to try and maneuver away, and the next thing you know, he's drifting back into there. So that's the balloon named Airtight, Chris Liberty.
Well, and as you say that, I just looked back off to the northwest, and I see the sky is empty of balloons, save for a couple that are one that's down in the trees. I don't mean landed in the trees, but I mean he's
yeah,
only,
we just see the top peering over them.
He's only half visible because of the trees, so he's down lower than some of the treetops in some areas. And there's a second one down there. They may be landing out there. Maybe that the time is running out to the point where
we're down to 6 minutes or less than 6 minutes.
They've decided they're not going to get to the field, so they may just be taking advantage of a good landing site where they're at. But my point was...
The river's not far from them either.
That's true. They might be playing in the river. But my point was the sky is now empty of balloons, so I think we're rapidly...
To that direction, anyway.
Well,
yes.
yeah.
To any direction that's going to get here is where I think you're headed.
Okay, to be clear, what I'm saying is there does not appear to be any more balloons coming toward the field in an attempt to score.
There you go. We got it all.
Ba-dum-bum.
Ba-dum-bum-bum. So... we've got some still high and pretty far to the east, I'm seeing here.
Yeah,
from here
actually
too.
some that are up near the clouds over the Sandias there. And, of course, Zarek Wells is still out there and guilty. Doesn't look like he's traveled a great deal further.
Guilty of being out there?
I guess he is.
Sorry.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have something they'd like to say? Can we move on? Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
But and my point about talking about Bela and Arizona 2 BART and the other things I was doing over on Vendor Row is to say that this is a good time as we begin to wrap up this morning to spend a little time over on Main Street, do some shopping. There are some great things to be found over there. And I often take care of Christmas shopping right here at Balloon Fiesta because you can find some things that you can't just get anywhere else. Although a number of the vendors that are here, of course, nowadays are also online. And so, for example, if those of you that are listening to the feed, if you haven't quite got the idea of what I'm talking about when I say Arizona 2 BART, you can find them online at, aztubes.com is their website, and they have a Facebook page as well, and an Etsy shop, and all those kinds of things that everyone has now in this day of social media.
And if we circle back to the education conversation we had a few more minutes,
yes.
Tie that in with other things you can do on Main Street, all the way out at the north end, the Balloon Discovery Center.
Yeah.
A great way to go get some hands-on experience and learn about ballooning, how it all works, and there's a flight simulator out there that you could take your hand at flying a balloon. And so there's lots of opportunities for educational, both for the young ones and for the older folks as well.
I'm sorry, I was just distracted. I think you saw me look a little bit for a moment there. I was looking at that white tent that's up toward about the middle of the field, up on the hill there, and I think those are trees that are in the way, but for a second it looked a little bit like the black and white pattern of Arabelle the cow and the Creamland, and I thought, what's Creamland Dairy doing way up there? I thought maybe they had some kind of special thing happening up there, but it was just an optical illusion. So, but I think I startled you when I looked like maybe there was something happening.
Well, you were looking that way, and our stage manager's looking that way, and the camera was pointing that way. It's kind of like, what am I missing here? what am I missing?
Yeah,
so so we'll wait.
I also had to take a quick shot of, hey, down in the truck, who's on the camera up here on the rooftop? What's the Maria? I took a quick picture of Maria because my sister, I posted a picture earlier this week where I had my jacket and scarf on, and my sister made the comment, said, well, is it really that cold, or are you just making a fashion statement? I said, no, it's really that cold. And I noticed Maria's pretty well bundled up here today, too. She's got a nice scarf and jacket on, and so I took a picture of Maria just a few minutes ago on camera and going to post that just to say.
53 degrees up here. It's a great.
Actually, it is a great day. I'm only, I think, in 1, 2, 3 layers and the jacket, so that's a layer or two less than I normally have. But it has been quite comfortable. There have been years when our teeth have been chattering up here. It's been so cold, and it's actually been quite a mild temperature-wise balloon fiesta so far this year. And knock on wood, it stays that way, or touch wood, as they say over in the UK. But still, it's the high desert, and us lowlanders aren't used to the altitude and the coolness of this yet. So
it's a great time of year to be here.
So
we've been watching competition for the last couple of hours here. Again, the object was to drop your marker on the bow of the boat. There were other options out there, and we saw Maury Petrin drop his marker in the boat out there. So I believe Kim Vesley has managed to catch up with Maury out there. So I'm not sure that if she's ready or not.
Okay. I'm sure one of our directors will tell us in our ear in just a moment on the IFB.
In the meantime, hey, there's a shot of some of our officials on the tower there who have been monitoring everything.
Right. That's where the Balloon Meister and his staff work from. They are just across from our rooftop studio. And
Melissa, wave at us.
That's where they monitor, and they're watching for balloons that are flying too high, too low, that are ascending or descending too fast, along with various safety officials targeted or stationed around the field. So that's kind of the official command center when we're flying and they're out here on the field.
Others of them are actually down there right in the center of the scoring area at the boat. So we were just looking at them from the ground. Now you're looking at them from our angle.
Well, and we have them in other places too. I can remember one year when I got a little bit too low out over propane, where propane refueling goes, and there was a safety officer on a four-wheeler out there racing along trying to get my banner number, but I turned myself in afterwards because I knew that I was in an area where I shouldn't have been. So we do have safety officials stationed all around
over the place,
the park. And if you do something you're not supposed to do, the odds are somebody's going to see you. And what happens is the next morning at pilot briefing, when Sam Parks is giving the briefing, there is a little thing where he says, and now we need to see at the tower banner number 243 and 121 and whatever it may be. So those banners are on there not only to help to identify, not only give Fiesta a little exposure, but they help identify the pilots so that if they need to be, they can use those numbers to identify them.
So we were taking a look at the smoke in the center of the field.
Oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't see I saw you pointing at the monitor. I went, okay, what are you pointing at now?
Yeah, the smoke on the monitors there from the center of the field. That is the signal that the target is now officially closed. So it
Thank
is
you for playing.
Yep. If you're not here, it's over. And of course, we've known for a few minutes that. We are not going to have anybody else come in here.
In fact, those two balloons that I said were down amongst the trees, I think now that they have taken advantage of a landing site over there because they are both down in the trees or below the trees over there where you can see just part of the balloon. So they probably have landed as well. We do still have a handful of balloons hanging out over the northeast quadrant of the field just outside of Fiesta Park.
You got that direction.
I did. I'm getting better.
You are. Yeah. You get it down.
So in fact, one of off to the south, northwest is. See, I don't always get it right. I see Dale Wong out there in his balloon, and then over on the to the northeast, I have Ken Drawn as one of the balloons that's hanging around out there. But as you just alluded to, Kim has tracked down not only the gentleman who put his marker in the boat this morning,
right? Also
the defending champion from Balloon Fiesta, and that would be Maury Petrin. So, Kim, take it away.
Go. Okay, and we, as the smoke flies on the field, have one last guest, and a very special guest. This is Maury Petrin, who's the defending champion of Balloon Fiesta, and was one of only two guys that got the boat?
From my view, yeah. One guy came in and beat me today, but I was the first one in, and it was a good morning.
Yeah, it was a really good morning. So what was involved in getting to the boat?
90% skill and 10% luck, I'd say.
So, was it changing a lot while you were flying?
It was a hard morning to get in, as you saw. Not many people scored, and I did some work, and I got lucky. I'll take it.
Did you score yesterday?
Yes, I did. So this should keep me in the hut. Keep me in the fight.
And how many more tasks?
Well, we fly tomorrow for fun competition, and then Thursday and Friday will count towards the overall. So this should keep me right there in the battle.
Yeah, that's good. So you have a chance to defend your championship.
That's why I'm here.
All right. Well, good luck tomorrow.
Thanks for having me, and everybody enjoy Fiesta.
Okay, we will. Thank you. And back to you.
Thanks, Kim. And congratulations, Maury. Nicely done this morning. And Maury is our defending champion, as we said. And so we fully expect to see him come Saturday when you and I are hosting the award ceremony here and passing out some checks and some prizes to the pilots.
So let's just run down the schedule for the rest of the week here.
Okay.
So this was Tuesday competition, no night event tonight.
Nope.
We will be back bright and early or dark and early tomorrow morning.
Well, let me put it this way. You'll be back at dark 30 in the morning.
It's my morning?
It's your morning.
It's my morning.
I'll be arriving a bit later.
Okay. So tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Mountain Time, which is 12 noon UTC time, we are scheduled for a Dawn Patrol show, followed by a mass ascension with our Flight of the Nations. Again, that's Wednesday morning, so all the balloons taking off from the field here. Thursday morning, we will have our Special Shapes Rodeo. Well, we're set up all 100 special shapes here on the field, and our other pilots will attempt to fly in. Some will fly from here, others will fly in, as Maury just mentioned, that we will have the competition continues on Thursday. Thursday is also Kids Day, sponsored by KOB TV.
Right.
And so that takes place Thursday morning. Thursday afternoon, then, it is time for the first Special Shapes Glowdeo. So a balloon glow with all 100 of our special shapes.
And only the special shapes participating.
Right. And, of course, all of our evening events followed up by an afterglow fireworks show presented by the Sandia Resort and Casino. And, of course, Team Fast Tracks is scheduled to come back and drop in to open up the Glowdeo.
Our new skydiving attraction.
Exactly. Yep. And we'll be talking to them hopefully Thursday morning, giving you a little preview of that. We basically take Thursday and do it all over again on Friday, so that we have our Special Shapes Rodeo in the morning, our Special Shapes Glowdeo in the evening, and then Saturday we have our Mass Ascension in the morning, Balloon Glow at night, Pin Trading Day on Saturday in the middle of the day, and our Farewell Mass Ascension Sunday morning.
On Sunday morning, and then we're done until we come back for the 48th in 2019.
Quickly getting closer to the
close
50th.
in on the 50th, absolutely. Just a quick note, looking back before we wrap up, Art, on the feed, we had a comment from, goodness, did I lose it? Let me see if I can go back and find it. There it is, from Carol A., I hope it's Reedy or Rady Bear. Any relation to Ray Bear, I wonder?
Don't know.
She says, I would like to save pictures from your feed. Help, please. Any thoughts? I would tell you, Carol, that all of our shows are archived. If you miss any part of, or maybe you miss an event, you can always go back not too long after we're done live. The show is archived, and meaning it's there and available to be viewed at your leisure on demand on balloonfiesta.com and on the Facebook and YouTube areas.
Yes.
And so the suggestion I would give you is you can go back to the archived episode you're interested in. You can, obviously, if you want to, you can probably fast forward through those, find the shots that you want, and take a screenshot, and that would give you a digital image from any of the feeds that we've been putting out through the day. So that's my best advice to you, Carol. Hope that helps you out.
And Betty Jenkins just posted that same comment back to her as well.
She certainly did. I just saw that. Betty says, hi, Carol. If on a laptop, you can take screenshots using the...
well, depending on the platform you have, there's different snipping tools, there's different shortcut commands. So depending on your laptop, and the same thing works on phones and tablets as well.
Yeah, because you can I take screenshots all the time on my iPhone. So, yeah, you can grab and then save images that way if you'd like to from any of our feed materials.
And Helen Hilton is asking if we go live for the live events. You betcha. We get started about 5:45 in the evening, which is just before midnight UTC. So you can do the conversions there. If there's a night event, we're live. There is no live event tonight, so we are not live tonight.
Right. We
we'll be in our beds.
A couple of nights off. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday nights, we get nights off because there are no evening events. But then we go back to two-a-days, as they would say. Starting on Thursday. And we go Thursday, Friday, Saturday with two-a-days, morning events and evening events. And then, of course, Sunday is just the final Mass Ascension and the farewell until next year.
There we go. So it's been a great day of flying and competition here at the 47th Annual Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta.
Oh, and someone else just asked, too, who was the other pilot who made the boat? Maury referenced that another pilot had come in and beat him. I don't know, and I think that was the first I actually heard there was a second marker in the boat, so we'll have to check. But those scoring results are posted online.
They are. There's a Facebook group called AIBF Results.
Okay.
And the scores are posted there usually late afternoon.
Okay. So certainly we'll find out and know tomorrow morning. But honestly, at this point, we don't know. But Moyer did indicate there was a second pilot who made the boat, and that happened without our knowledge. So we'll try and find out. But later on, you can also probably find it by checking the scores on the Facebook page Art just mentioned.
You betcha. So for Kim Vesley and Ruth Lynn down on the field, Glen Moyer, I'm Art Lloyd Jr., all of our entire Balloon Fiesta Live team, thank you for watching. Thank you for joining us here on the field. We will see you again tomorrow morning, starting with the Mass Ascension, with the Dawn Patrol show before the Mass Ascension. Have a great afternoon. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
This has been live coverage of the 2018 Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta presented by Canon. Always in October and always in Albuquerque, the Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta is the world's premier ballooning event. This program is a production of AIBF Inc., all rights reserved. Thanks for watching Balloon Fiesta Live.